Welcome! So I'm super excited that you're here and decided to enroll in this course. In this tutorial, we're going to through the contents of the course, and I will show you the structure of the course. So the course starts with the course introduction and overview in section 1. So I'm showing you the course content, and also you will learn some information about the course that will help you to gain as much as possible from the course. Then in section 2, we start with Git Basics and Installation. So I will teach you what version control is and what is Git exactly and where it is coming from. And also we will go through the Git installation process so you can install it on your operating system if it's not there already. And then in section 3, we will learn about terminal and command prompt window. So this section is very important for me. So I strongly suggest if you have not, if you don't have any experience with working with command prompt or basic commands of the terminal of your operating system, please do not skip this part because this section is actually a basic for the next section. So if you don't learn this, you will have lots of problems for understanding section 4, 5, and 6. So please do not skip this. I try to separate Windows users and Mac and Linux users because there are slight differences in the commands. So you can select the related tutorial based on your operating system. Then in section 4, I will show you what are the different version control platforms. So for those of you who are working with different types of platforms like GitLab or other types of platforms, it's totally fine. You can just skip this part. But for those of you who are following me with the course and you want to start using GitHub, I will show you how you can create a GitHub account or make a repository in GitHub, and also at the end configure username and email in your operating system. Then in section 5, we actually start an interesting journey of hands-on Git. So I usually start with the workflow of how the Git actually is working in 2 parts. In part 1, we will learn about creating a working directory, status and init command, add command, commit command, git remove and git push. And then in the second part of the section 5, we actually go through the understanding how fetch and pull works. And again, I start with the overall workflow of it in overall workflow part 2, and then I will show you how these commands works. Then at the end of the section 5, we have exercise 1 and summary. So this part is very, very important for me. Please do not skip exercises. So exercise 1 is actually a whole summary of what we said through the whole section. I will show you all these steps, and you should go through all these steps. That will be a summary of all we said, and also a good exercise for you to understand if you learned all these steps or not. And then at the end, we will solve it together for sure. So do not skip exercise part. Then in section 6, same structure. We start from the basics of the branch. It's for your collaboration, and if you want to collaborate with others, it's very important section. We start from the basic concepts, and I will show you different things about head, creating a new branch, push changes in remote repository, and merge commands, delete branches, and these things. And at the end, again, we have another exercise and summary. So the exercise again works as a summary also in this section too. So I will show you different steps of the exercise, then you will start solving it, and at the end we will solve it together. That will be a summary, a good summarize of the whole section as well. So that was it. So let's start this interesting journey together, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Welcome to this session. So I'm here to give you quickly some tips and information about the course before we start, so it can help you to use this course as efficient as possible. So the course is structured in this way. We start from installations and required setups that you need in each section. And then we have basic concepts about each tutorial that we want to start. And then we have hands-on Git. So we go to the environments that you need to work with Git, and I show you how to use different commands in Git. And at the end of this each section, you have exercise and also summary of that section. So it's exercise and also a summary. So it's very important. After finishing the section, try not to skip the exercises. These are some tips in order to start. Do not skip the basic concepts explanation part to understand the theory first. During hands-on Git part, code along with me and do not wait until the end. That's, I think, the best strategy. And do not use ready codes and comments, although you have access to them. Please do not copy and paste in order to learn the basic comments that you need in Git. And if any error occurs, what should you do? There are several steps in order to overcome the problems and errors. So first of all, double check and even triple check your code. Here I'm mentioning code, but it means the commands, the different lines that we're using in this course. With mine, note that the most of errors happens because of small mistakes, such as not a correct syntax. The second step is, if you cannot find any problem with your code or your comments, go to the second step. The second step is just copy and paste the exact error in Google and check it out the solution. So this is actually the fastest way in order to solve the error that you occur to. If still not a chance to find a solution, the third step is actually in question and answer part of the Udemy. Change the all lecture to current lecture to find out if this error happens to other students and what solution proposed by me to them. And the last step, if even you couldn't find anything in a question and answer part, just send the error you receive with a screenshot from the code and also from the error itself in the question and answer part, so I can help you with that, and we will solve the problem with together. The Udemy platform, it has some tricks. So in below tab of videos, you can find set the subtitle. You can set a subtitle to English from the caption setting. English is not my first language, so I'm sorry about the accent. So maybe the subtitle can help you sometimes to understand what I'm talking about. And using setting button, make sure the video quality is set to highest quality. If you think I'm speaking too fast or too slow, you can just easily change the playback rate so I can speak faster or slower in your video. And at the end, if you have any problem with playing the videos and accessing to the content, please contact Udemy Help, because this is out of my hand. That was it. I hope you enjoy the course very much and we have a very good time together during this course. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy using Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to talk about version control. So understanding version control helps very much, because it is actually it is the basic of this course. It is the basic of Git that we want to go through it in the next tutorials. So first of all, what is version control? So version control help developers in monitoring modification in their code over a period, facilitating teamwork, restoring previous versions, and effectively managing code repositories. What is repositories? Don't worry about that. We will use it so much time in this course, and we will discuss it further in future. But why version control is important? It actually allows multiple collaboration of multiple developers on a project, preventing conflict, preserving a record of alternation, and I think the most important thing is actually offering protection against potential data loss. Interesting, right? Now that we understood what version control is, let's look at the different types of it. So we have two different types of version control. The first type is centralized version control system, or CVCS, which is a central server actually stores the entire code base, and developers check out code to work on that. And there is another type, which is distributed version control system, or DVCS, which each developer has a complete repository, enabling offline work and faster access to history. Let me give you an example. For example, an example of the CVCS, or centralized version control system, is SVN, or Subversion, which is a free centralized, you may have heard about it. It is a free centralized control system, and it was widely used back then. But after rising distributed version control systems such as Git and Mercurial, for example, people more used DVCS than after that. So in this course, our goal is to understand how Git works. So let's first understand what Git is and then continue with the rest. So again, Git is a type of distributed version control system, or DVCS, which is a type of version control type actually. And we want to understand what Git is in the next tutorial. But I hope you understood what version control is, because it helps you very much with the basic concepts. That was it. Until the next tutorial, keep exercising. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to know what is actually Git. So as I mentioned in the previous tutorial, Git is a type of distributed version control system, and it's created by Linus Torvalds in 2005. This guy. Yeah, this is the same guy which created Linux operating system, and Git quickly became the most widely used distributed version control system. And why it got so popular is because of its flexibility, speed, and extensive community support. Git does not stand for anything specific. Linus originally developed Git to manage the development of the Linux kernel, and he chose the name Git as a British English slang term, Git, which is an insult, and really, I really don't want to go through the details of that, but feel free if you want to search more about it, and if you're interested in the history of this naming thing. Oh, and the last thing, if you are interested, you can find the original Git source code developed by Linus Torvalds on the official Git website and GitHub. This is the link. I put it here for you. If you're interested, you could check it out, and it could be very interesting. On the GitHub repository page, you can browse the source codes, explore the commit history, view issues, and contribute to the project if you wish. Why not? Maybe after this course. So that was a very quick explanation about the history of the Git and what Git exactly is. And in the next tutorial, we will learn how to install Git on your machine. That was it. Enjoy using Git. Welcome to this session. So in this tutorial, we want to start installing Git. So to do that, we first need to open Git website, which is this address, git-scm.com, or we can search it in Google and open it up. So this is the website that you need to open. And this is the environment of the website, but this could change during the time, so you may see different environments. But just look for the downloads button here. For example, for mine is here. Click on downloads, and you can see different options for a different operating system. You have 3 options based on your operating system: Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. Just remember, if your operating system is Mac or Linux, you already have Git installed on your system. But if you want to reinstall or update it, feel free to click on one of these options, Mac or Linux, and proceed with the installation. But for Windows users, I'm going to continue this and show you how to download and install Git properly. So click on Windows, and then based on your operating system, which is 32 bits or 64 bits, just click on the related link. For mine, because it's for 64 bits, I just click on the 64-bit Windows setup, this one. And it starts downloading it, so it's not very heavy, so it's done. It's now completed. You can see that. You can open it up. So let me open up this exe file. Just right-click on it and open it. All right, I opened up the exe file. Try to run it as administrator if it's possible. And this window will pop up. Let me just, if I can, no, I cannot make it be in a larger size, so that's fine. I think you can see this. So in this window that is popped up here, let me close this, and here, maybe it's a bit of background. So what you need to do is you can just uncheck this, only show new options. Uncheck this because we want to actually go through the installation process ourselves before pressing install. So try to uncheck this one and then click next. You can read also the license. Feel free to go through the license until the end, the terms and conditions, and click on next. And here in this section, click just keep all the defaults as it is, and you don't have to change anything, and click on next. And here we have a couple of options. For example, if you're using a special editor for yourself, so you can see different types of editor here. So it is asking you choosing default editor for used by Git. It's not very important for us because we are not using any types of editor in this course, but if you are, for example, using Visual Studio, you can select this one. If you're using other types of editor, you can select the editor as you like. For example, let's say, we are not using it, but you can just define it as Visual Studio, and then click Next. Then you have 2 options here. One that is mentioning let Git decide, because this one is actually, let me explain a little bit about this 2 options that you have here. Because of some reasons, some platforms change their default branch from name master to main, and the transition from using master as the default branch name to main in Git repositories is a part of an effort to make the technology more inclusive and remove terminology that has historical association. So this is the only reason. I suggest override the default, since we're going to use platforms like GitHub, which have already changed this. You can just select the override, for example, to main, and Git actually changed the default to main if you select this one. Or you can let the Git decide, let it be the master itself, and we can change it during the course, and that's fine. I will show you how you can change that during the course. Also, I will mention it during the course. But try to do this if you don't want to go through the redundancy. So click on next. Then you have a couple of options here telling you that, okay, you want to use Git bash only, you want to use command prompt. Because we are using command prompts, I prefer the last one, so use Git and optional Unix tools from the command prompt. So this one should be selected, the last one, and then click next. And here we keep the default as bundled OpenSSH, and here we just use the here we just use the default, use the OpenSSL library. And here in this page, we can just keep this as default and click next. And here also, it is asking you about the terminal. That is not very important for us since we are not using Git Bash. So we can just keep it as it is. And then here it asks you about choose the default behavior of Git pull. So here we can also select the default, click next, and defaults next, enable file system caching next. And at the end, it will ask you to enable if you want experimental support or built-in file system monitor, or we don't want to check these, and you can click install that. So by clicking install, it will start. For example, for me, because I had Git before, it will start removing my previous version and start actually installing the new version. But if you have not installed it yet on your operating system, so this is your first time, it will directly install your updated version for you, the updated version for you. So it will take a couple of seconds in order to install. I will just pause the video and we'll come back as soon as it's finished. All right, the installation is finished now for me. So you can see that it will ask you if you want to launch the Git Bash or release notes. Just uncheck this one because I want to show, we are not working with Git Bash in this course, but I just want you to know what it looks like actually. So just click on check this box, launch Git Bash, or if you didn't check that and press finish before, just search it in the search bar of your operating system and just type Git Bash, and you can open that up. So Git Bash is actually, let me open this up first. So this is the Git Bash environment. Git Bash is a command line interface, or CLI for Git. So as I said, we're not using it, but let me show you the environment. So this is the environment and how it looks. And you can see that we are in master branch at the moment. And you can even check the Git version that you installed, git -- version. You can see that my version at the moment is 2.41.0, and yours may be different, so don't worry about that. It will get updated during the time, so you may have more updated version than mine. Okay, that was it. So as I said, we're not using this. You can just close this, and in the next tutorial, things are getting more exciting, so bear it with me, and we will have a very good time. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in this interesting tutorial, I want to show you what is command prompt and how we can use command prompt in Windows operating system. So first of all, command prompt is a text-based interface in Windows operating system that allows users to interact with the computer by typing commands. How you can open that application, you can just, in the Windows desktop, there is a search bar, you can see that. So in a search bar, you can just click on it and then type CMD, it's here, command prompt, or if you cannot find it, just type the whole name, so command prompt, just like this. So as soon as you type command prompt or CMD, the application will show up. This is the command prompt. Just click on that and it will pop up. So let me click on this. All right, so this is the environment. When you click on the command prompt, this window will pop up. This is the environment of the command prompt on your Windows. And you can simply change the look of this window by just right-clicking here on top and go to Properties. And you can see that you have a couple of options. You can change the font size. For example, I selected this bigger font size because I'm recording this video for you, and I need the font to be larger than usual. So feel free to go and change everything that you want. For example, the layouts, the colors, the terminal. So even you can change the background color. You can change the look as you wish. So here, how you can do that. So click on OK, and this is the window. So let's start our tutorial now. So at the moment, I'm in Drive C. In folder users and in folder roots. For you, it may be something different, so don't panic. It may be a different folder, we don't care, but for me it's like this. For you it could be something different. And okay, let's start. The first thing that we want to learn is what are the documents that we have in the directory. So the directory for me at the moment is this folder, this root folder that is located in the users folder and is located in the C folder. For you, as I said, it may be something different, but we don't care at the moment. We just want to check what is inside this directory that we are already in it. So to do that, I'm using the ls method. Just write ls and press enter. You can see that I have lots of things in my Drive C, lots of things in this folder, in this directory folder, lots of things. So it will show all of the data, all of the information, all of the files, let's say, that you have inside of this directory. The next thing is, let's say I want to go into one of these folders that I have in my directory. So what I can use the cd command. For example, let's say I have a folder named git test here. You can see that, and I want to go inside of this folder. How can I do that? So to do that, simply can use this cd command. Cd commands actually give us this ability to go inside of a new directory or new folder. So I'm just typing cd space and the name of the folder that I want to go inside of it. So let's say git _ test, I guess was it. If I press enter, you can see that it simply changed the current directory that I was in it. I was in root, now I'm in git _ test. So it was very simple. I'll use cd and the name of the folder that I want to go inside of it. In order to go back, for example, you go inside of this this folder, this directory, and you want to go back again to the previous one. To do that, I can simply type cd space ... and that's it. If I press enter, you can see that right now I'm in the roots again. So I went back to the previous folder, previous directory that I was in it. So again, let's review. We used ls in order to check all of the folders, directories, files that we have inside of this current directory. Then we used cd command, cd the name of the folder or directory, in order to go inside of that folder. And then in order to go back again, we use cd ... in order to go back again, cd space ... All right, so I can use this cd ... to even go back further. For example, you can do this until you reach to the end. Let's see, cd ... now I'm in the user, cd ... now you can see I'm in Drive C, see here. And so even you can change, for example, from Drive C to Drive D by just typing, for example, this Drive C is not the drive that you want to work on. on it. So you can simply change that by typing, for example, let's say drive D. I don't know about the name of your drives, but in my computer, in my operating system at the moment, I just have two drives, C and D. So what I can do to change it from C to D is just typing D double dot colon C D colon and enter. So now you can see that it has changed from C to D. Now I can even go further inside of drive D and do whatever I want. For example, check the by ls, I can check the files that I have in drive D or folder, so I can go inside of them by cd command and so on. That's it. Okay, let's go back to drive C again by saying C colon enter. Now we are in drive C, and let's and then use the cd command to go back to where we were. So again, I want to go to users, so I'm saying cd users. Now you can see we are in the users folder. Then again cd root, again I'm in that folder, and I want to say cd git underscore test. That was the folder I checked, and now I'm in it, right? So let's review very quickly what we have set before we move on. So we checked how, first of all, we checked how we can check how we can check the files, what are the files and folders inside of the folder or directory by ls method, by ls command. Then we understood how we can go inside of each of these directories or folders by cd commands, and by cd space double dot commands we can go back again to the previous folder, and you can change the drive by simply type the drive name and colon, and that was it. So these are all the things that you learned until now. So right, you may say, I don't have, for example, git test or a directory there. How can I make a directory there in the current directory that I'm in? So let's go back again. I'm saying cd double dot. Now I'm in the users, roots, and that's it. Okay. So first of all, I wanna clear all these things, because I think every time that because I check the ls inside of my current directory and it's a little bit messy at the moment. So in order to clear all these things and go back to the just clean the environment, you can type cls. Okay, if I press enter, you can see that our window, our working area is now clean. So that was cls method. So let's say you don't have that folder, that git test folder inside of your current directory, and you want to make a folder actually there, or let's say you want to make a new directory there. Okay, so to do that, we can use the command make directory or mkdir. Okay, mkdir is actually the abbreviation of make directory, let's say. And then space, the name of the directory, the name of the folder that you want to create inside of root directory, inside your of your current directory. So let's say, for example, I want to name it Git tutorial. All right. Okay, so because I have already had this one, so it mentioned that you have already this one. So let's make another thing. Let's say mk up dir git tutorial 2. Okay, so now we can see that it isn't showing you anything. So if you have the folder with the exact same name, it will give you a subdirectory or a file. Git tutorial already exists. It means that you cannot make two directories with the same name. But I used another name, Git tutorial 2. Now it created it for me. So if I check the root again with ls method, I can find it easily there. But I don't want to do that. So I want to go inside of this Git tutorial 2. So I'm saying cd git underscore tutorial 2. Now I'm inside of that. And if I check the ls at the moment, it should be empty. It should show us nothing actually. See, it's empty. So right now, what we have done is we actually created a directory name, or let's say subdirectory named git underscore tutorial 2. And then we went inside of that directory and we checked inside of the directory and it was empty. That was all we have done until now. So now that I'm inside of this Git tutorial 2, let me make another subdirectory inside of this Git tutorial 2 and name it Git tutorial 3. You can do that. So you can pause the video as an exercise for yourself, because we just did it. So you need to just use the make directory command in order to make this. So pause the video and do it yourself. All right. So we can do it with together. Again, we want to make another directory. So I'm using mk directory or mkdir. So this time, let's say git tutorial 3. These are all the tests. So let's just name it git tutorial 3, enter. Now, if I check ls, I'm still in git tutorial 2, right? If I check ls, it should show me git tutorial 3 subdirectory, right? It's here, right? Now, let's say you don't want git tutorial 3. You want to delete that one. What should you do? So to delete the file or subdirectory or anything using the command prompt, we're using rm directory. So to make it, we use mk directory. To remove it, we use rmdir. Similar to mkdir, right? mk is actually for making directory. rm is for removing the directory. So rkdir, and then the name of that, git underscore tutorial 3. So I'm inside git tutorial 2. I made git tutorial 3 inside of the tutorial 2. And now I wanna remove it. I'm saying rm git tutorial 3. If I press enter and check inside of the git tutorial 2 by ls method, you can see that nothing inside of it, and we remove that actually. Okay, now that we are in inside of the git tutorial 2 directory, you want to say, I don't want to create another subdirectory, but I want to create, for example, a text file here, not a folder, but a text file. So to create a text file inside of the command prompt, it's not a very complicated thing. So what you should do, you have two options. So the first option is actually, we can either say type, type null space more than space. Then you need to specify the name of the file that you want to create. Let's say, for example, text file 1, right? .txt, right? It's a text file. So if I press enter, and if I check again inside of git underscore tutorial 2 by ls method, you can see that text underscore file 1 is actually there. So you can even check that in your computer. You can go to your drive C and check it out. Let's check that out actually with together. All right, see if I open up the, okay, so this is the root subdirectory, or let's say directory that I created git tutorial 2 here. And this is the git tutorial 2 that we made actually inside of the command prompt window. This is the subdirectory. And if I open this up, you can see that the text file 1 that we created with together is actually here. So we did a very great job. Congratulations. So the other way in order to create a, for example, similar text file, and let's also, I want to add something else to it. So I want to show you another way of creating a text file, and also adding a text to that text file. So the text file that we created, text file 1, was actually an empty text file. But the ones that I want to create now is a new with a new method is actually we can add text file to that one as well. So to do that, I'm saying echo. Let's click here. Echo. This time I want to use echo method. So echo. Then after a space, you just type your type whatever you want to type inside of your text file. So let's say, for example, hi, this is a test. All right. Then press dot space more than space, then the name of your text file. For example, let's call it text file 2 this time, and the format of it, txt. All right. So this time, instead of type null method, I'm using echo methods. Echo, whatever you want to type inside of the text file, dot more than, then the name of the text file, and that's it. If I press enter now, and if I check the inside of the Git tutorial 2 directory, you can see that we have text file 1 that we created with type null method, and we have text file 2 that we created with this echo method. And inside of the text file 2, we also have a text that's mentioning, hi, this is a test. So let's check that out together. Let's open up the directory here again. So you can see that now we are in the Git tutorial 2, and instead of just one text file, we have 2 text file. So text file 2. If I just open this up with, for example, Notepad, you can see even inside of it, hi, this is a test. This is the exact text that we wanted to be typed inside of our text file 2, and we did it. So that was a very, very great job, guys. We have done a very good job until here, but let's learn more. Let's, for example, say, I want to delete one of these files. What should I do? So delete the file inside of the directory without removing the whole directory. I don't want to delete Git tutorial 2. I just want to delete one of these text files, for example. What should I do now? For example, let's say you want to delete text file 2. To do that, I can use the delete command, or let's say del, and the name of the text file, let's say text file 2 you want to delete, and don't forget the format, txt. If I press enter, if you remember the last time that we checked, we had both files, text file 1 and text file 2, inside of the Git tutorial 2. So if I press enter at the moment, and if I check inside of my directory again with ls, you can see that this time I just have text file 1 because I deleted text file 2 with del method. So we can even do more. So let's say you want to rename the files you created. For example, here we want to change text file 1 to text file without 1. Okay, you want to remove this 1 at the end. Okay, to rename your file, you can use rename method. So it's super straightforward. You can just say rename. Then the name of the text file, for example, the name of the previous name, let's say the current name of your file, that is text_file 1.txt. This actually specifies which file you want to rename, and then a space, the new name that you want to assign to this file. So let's say text_file. I don't want 1 at the end, so .txt. So again, rename, the name of the file which you want to change, and space, the new name that you want to assign to this file. So if I press enter, and if I check inside of the Git tutorial, this time it shouldn't show me text file 1, it should show me just text file.txt. So ls. Now you can see that inside of the Git tutorial, we don't have text file 1, but we have text file, this one. So we actually renamed it from text file 1 to text file. So that was the rename methods. All right, I think we learned enough commands, and we want to use some of these commands during the course. I just wanted to make sure that you know most of the commands, most of the general commands, let's say, that you need in using Git in this tutorial. Again, in order to clear everything out, in order to clean the environment of your command prompt, you can use the CLS method. And in order to also exit the command prompt, you can just close this, or you can type exit. Very simple. If I press enter, it will go outside of the command prompt. So that was it. I hope you enjoyed using the command prompt methods. I hope you exercise more, because as much as you exercise, you will be more familiar with the commands, and you can do better. So until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome to this tutorial. So in this tutorial, we want to learn how to use different commands in macOS or Linux terminals. And the macOS or Linux terminals, the commands are actually the same. So if you're using each one of these operating system, it's fine. You can use these commands that I'm explaining in this tutorial. So first of all, I want to open the terminal. So I'm in macOS. In order to find the terminal, you can find it here. Just click on this, or you can search it out by searching terminal in the Finder, and it will open up the terminal for you. In order to change the look of the terminal, for example, font size or background, you can go to Terminal here to Preference. Just open it up. And here in the preference section, you can change the background of the terminal. For example, I want to change it to black because the contrast between black and white fonts, black background and white font, actually is better for recording the video, but feel free to change to any of these backgrounds that you want. So I changed to this one, and you can even change the font size here by pressing change and changing the font size. For the moment, 27 font size is good enough. And double click on this, and it will open up this new look terminal for you. All right, so enough with the environment. Now let's start directly. Let's go to the different comments and learn some comments here. So first of all, I want to check where I am. At the moment, if you want to check where you are, in which directory you are, you can use pwd command and press enter. And it will give you exactly the exact location that you are inside of it at the moment. You are in for example, I am in users Git tutorial, and that's it. This is the Git tutorial user actually. And in order to check inside of the directory that you're located in, we can use ls method. So the first thing that we want to learn is what are the documents that we have in the directory. So we know the location of the directory. We just need to use the ls command. So if I press enter, you can see that these are the different documents that I have inside my directory. So I'm in the user directory, so it's obvious that I have desktop documents, downloads, and everything. So the thing is, you can easily go inside each of these folders. So for example, let's say you want to go inside of the documents. The command that you need to use in order to go inside of these documents is cd command. cd is a stand for change directory. So cd space the name of the place that you want to go inside of it, documents, press enter. Now we are inside of the document. If we check ls again in order to check the inside of our directory at the moment, so our directory at the moment is documents. Inside of that, we can check it with ls. At the moment, we only have one folder inside of the directory, documents, and it's Git tutorial. I created this folder before in the documents to show you how you can go inside of this folder at the moment. So I'm using again CD because I want to go inside of this Git tutorial folder and press enter. Now I am inside of the Git tutorial folder, which is an empty folder. We can even check that out with ls again. You can see that it's showing you nothing. It means that the folder is empty. Now let's say you want to go back. You are inside of the Git tutorial, but you want to go back to the document section. You want to go back one steps. You don't want to be inside of the Git tutorial. You can use cd command again, change directory, space, double dot, and that's it. If you press enter, we go back from the Git tutorial to documents. See, now we are in the documents. So I can use this cd double dot to even go back further, for example, from documents to the user area and so on. So you can use it several times in a row. The next thing that we want to learn is how we can create, for example, let's go inside of the Git tutorial again using the cd command, cd git tutorial. And then inside of the Git tutorial, I want to create another folder, another directory. And to do that, I can use mk, or let's say make directory. So mkdir is actually stand for making directory, make directory. So mkdir, and just the name of the folder, the name of the directory you want to create inside of this directory. So again, we are inside of the Git tutorial directory. We want to create another folder, or let's say another directory inside of this directory. So to do that, I'm using mkdir, or make directory command, and the name of the directory. For example, let's say I want to use git test 1, okay? If I press enter, and if I check inside, you remember inside of the Git tutorial, we checked that out and it was empty. So if I check that out again using ls method, you can see that we created one directory, and that's the name of that is git_test1. All right, great. Now, if you want to make sure that, as I said, if you want to make sure that you have created this directory, you can use the ls method, and you can even simply remove this directory using another method. Let me tell you this one as well. So for example, I can use, instead of making directory or mkdir, I can use remove directory or rmdir. So in order to remember these comments, you can simply remove the whole word. So making directory, removing directory, mkdir for creating a new directory, and rmdir for removing that directory. So I'm in Git tutorial. Remember, you need to be in that directory to remove any file that you want. So rmdir git_test1. So if I press enter, you remember we check ls and git_test1 was there, right? If I press enter and check ls again, you can see that it gives us nothing as a feedback. So it means that the directory Git tutorial is empty now. So let's review what we have done. We actually, in order to check inside of the directory, we use the ls method. In order to go inside the directory, we use the change directory or cd method. In order to go back from the directory to the previous step, we can use cd double dot, cd space double dot. And then in order to create a directory inside another directory, we can use mkdir, the name of the directory that you want to create. And in order to remove that directory, we use rmdir, the name of the folder or directory that you want to remove. So let's say now inside this Git tutorial directory, we want to create a text file. So this is very important. Usually we want to create a file there. So creating a text file is very important for us. So in order to create a text file, I'm in Git tutorial and I want to create a text file here. Instead of another directory, I just want to create a text file. To do that, I'm using the touch method. So I'm saying touch, T-O-U-C-H, and the name of the file that you want to create. For example, let's say text file 1.txt, right? So if I press enter, if I check ls again inside of the Git tutorial is empty now, it was empty. If I check the ls, you can see that you created a text file and it's here. So let's create another file. For example, let's say again touch, this time text file 2.txt. All right, let's check ls. All right, at the moment inside of the Git tutorial we have two empty text files that we created, text file 1.txt and text file 2.txt. You see? All right, so I want to show you how you can also for example I want to show you how you can actually delete one of these files. So in order to delete one of these files, so this is not a directory anymore. If you want to remove the directory, if you remember, you can use the rmdir. But here it's a file, it's a text file, and we want to delete it. In order to remove that, we can use the rm command. So I'm saying rm, for example, let's say I want to delete text file 2. Text file 2.txt. So if I check ls again, you can see that we only have text file 1, while before deleting that we had text file 1 and text file 2. So let's quickly review. Touch is the method, is the command that you can use in order to create a file. So for example, I created a text file here. I created two text files and I removed one of them using rm method. Rm stands for remove. You can delete a file. So do not confuse this with removing directory. That was rmdir or remove directory. So, so as I said, if you check the ls, you can see that we have only one text file at the moment. The things that you can do in order to clear your screen also, you can easily say clear, and it's clear everything out for you. But remember, in your Git tutorial, you created your text file, and this clear command is just clean your terminal. So everything you created is there. You don't clear everything, but this clear just clear the environments of the terminal, so you can have a cleaner environment. You can even exit this tutorial. Before I show you exit, I think I forgot one other thing. So so let's say you want to rename one of these files. For example, you're in the Git tutorial. Let's say you want to rename text file 1 to just text file. Let's check that out again because I just forgot to tell you this before closing this tutorial. So if I check ls again, you can see that I have text file 1 inside of the Git tutorial directory, right? And it's a text file. Let's say you want to, you don't want to remove it, but you want to rename it. To rename this, we can use mv methods. So for example, mv text file 1 and space, just so the first thing that you need to mention is the previous name. The second thing, it should be the new name that you want to assign to text file 1. So it's, let's say for example, text file without 1, right? So it was just, I forgot to put here text file 1.txt and here text file.txt. So again, in order to rename a file that you recently created, you can use the mv method. After mv command, press space, put the previous name that's already assigned to the file, and a space, put the new name that you want to assign to the file to as a new name. So if you press enter, and if you check ls method again, you can see that the file name is now text file instead of text file 1. All right, that was it. It's more than enough to learn these basic commands before we start our Git tutorials. In order to clear everything, just as I mentioned before, you can say clear, and in order to even to exit this this terminal, you can even close it, or you can say exit, or even use Control D. So if I press exit, it will end this session, and Control D is actually doing the same thing here for me. So that was it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy Git. All right, welcome back. There are several web-based version control platforms, which I can remember. That I remember at least 10 of them at the moment. But the most famous ones are maybe these four platforms: GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and AWS Code Commits. In this course, we use GitHub since it is the most famous one, but if you are using other platforms, even other than these four, that's fine. The structure of what we need to do is same, but if you want to prevent any problems and errors you may occur to, I strongly suggest to select GitHub and continue with me. All right, before we finish this tutorial, I want to give you a short introduction of GitHub as well, and again, why we selected GitHub. So GitHub was founded in 2008. The founders emphasized making GitHub user-friendly and community-driven, encouraging developers to share their codes and collaborate openly. One of the GitHub's early differentiators was, and I like it so much actually, was its strong focus on social features. It allowed developers to follow each other, start repositories they like, and fork projects to make their modifications. Very interesting. GitHub played a significant role in the rise of open source software development by making it easier for developers to contribute to existing projects and start their own open source initiatives. All right, enough with the introduction. Let's go directly to learn about GitHub environments and create our first account. That would be very interesting. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy using Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to create a GitHub account. So to do that, just open up the GitHub website, github.com, and this website will pop up. So the main page may be different because since they usually update their website. So, but what we need to do is actually looking for sign up button. So usually the sign up and sign in button are here. So if you have already built an account, registered in GitHub, you can use sign in. But if you have not, you can continue this video with me. Just click on the sign up button and this page will open up for you. And it asks your email address. So just type in your email address. For example, for me, it's git.tutorial.class@gmail.com. I created this for this tutorial. So this should be your email address. Please do not use this one. This is mine. Use your email address and press continue. Then it asks for the password, so you can use your password as well here. Press continue, and then it asks for a username. So for the username, you need to create a username for yourself, something that is available actually in GitHub. For example, let's say Git class 2023, something like that. Yeah, Git class 2023 is available. So if it's not available, you need to change it until it gets available for you. Then continue, and that's, would you like to receive product updates and announcement via email? I say no, it depends on you. And verify your account. So protecting your account, please solve this puzzle. So you can press and verify. It's a very simple puzzle that it gives you. So it asks, I use the arrow to the animal to the face to the direction of the hand. So I'm using this arrow just like this. and submit it, and it's done. Now we can press on create account, and you're almost done. We have sent a launch code to this email address. So you need to check out your email address. For example, mine is here in the Gmail. So I need to check this out and write down the code here. So let me check the Gmail. All right, so I just entered the codes that have been sent for me, and automatically it redirected me to this page. So it asks you a couple of questions like how many team members will be working on this. Let's say, for example, just me, and or a student or teacher. Put a student here, continue. And then these are the different features that you may be interested in. For now, let's just press continue. And here are some other options for you. For example, it's that if you want additional benefits, you can use for apply GitHub students benefits, and you need to pay some money for that. But for this course, we want to use the free version, so we don't need to pay anything. So just press continue for free. So it takes a couple of seconds and it initializes your dashboard for you. Voila. So here our dashboard. Here's our dashboard. You can see that this is the initial look of your dashboard. And that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will learn how to create a repository. Welcome back. So now that we are in our GitHub page, so this is our dashboard, as you can see. You can click here. This is your dashboard actually, and you have by clicking here, you can see the options that you have in your dashboard. For example, your profile, your repository, project, and so on. So again, this could be a little bit different from what you are seeing because they usually update the interface of the dashboard. But overall, what we want to do is actually creating a repository. So if you click here, for example, going to repositories, that will be what you need to find actually. But before that, if you go to your profile section, so this is your profile, you can even upload a picture here, and you can see the contribution of yourself during the last year. So we recently created this account, so no contribution, no history for the contribution. So it will show your contribution actually, so you can use it for your resume as well in the future, how you contributed to GitHub, for example. So enough with this. Let's go to your repository section. Just click on this, and as you can see, we don't have any repositories because we recently created this account, and we want to create our first repository with Together. So for creating a repository, just click on this green button mentioning new, and this page will pop up. And here in this page, the first thing that you need to do is selecting the owner. For sure, we just have one owner, and this is your username. Git class 2023 is the username that I created, so your username should be something different. Here in the repository name, you should define the name of the repository. For example, let's say first, I don't know, first repo. So I'm not very good with namings, but just create a name for yourself for your first repository. And then the description is optional. You can put some description here for your information or the others that want to read your repository. And the important thing here is making it private or public. So if you make it public, anybody can see it. Anybody that has access to GitHub can actually see your repository and access to whatever you upload there. But if you make it private, only you and the ones that you define will access to your repository. So this is a very important section. Let's create a public repository for now. And here in the add a README file. We don't need to add a README file for now. You can do that for your projects in future, but here in next tutorials, because we want to create a README file ourselves, so do not check this. And then this one, just leave it as a default, and the choose a license part. You can feel free to go through these licenses and read through them. What are these licenses? But typically they are actually telling others that what they can and what they cannot do with your code, as mentioning here. So for our reason, because it's just for teaching purpose, and I want to teach you something, there's nothing confidential in it, and there is no license. We don't need any license. But for future, you can actually choose one of these licenses and feel free to go through them and read them. Anyway, so the only things that you need to define actually here in this page is the name of your repository, and if it is public or private, and if you want to add a README file, and that's it. And let's create our first repository. Voila! So here we have our first repository created, and you can see that even it will give you some, let's say, cheat sheets that you can use them in order to add something in your repository, or commit something, or push something. But we will go through all of these bit together. Don't worry about that. Line by line, we will go through them, and we will create a perfect repository with each other. So until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy using Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, I want to show you how you can configure your username and email address that you remember we used in creating our GitHub account in previous tutorials. And now we want to actually configure it using the command prompt window or terminal if you're using Mac. So just open up your terminal, your command prompt window, and here the first thing that we need to do is checking to see actually we have configured a username before or not. So to do that, I can simply say git config user.name. Okay, press enter. And as you can see, I have already configured a username, my name, Navid SH67. So this was my previous username that I'm using for my real account. But let's say you have received nothing, so you have not configured any username, or you have configured and you want to change it. So to do that, to configure a new username, a new email. For the email, you can do the same thing. You can say git config user.email this time. Okay. So if you press enter, it will show you the email address that has been configured. Okay, let's actually configure over the username and email address that we created in previous tutorials and use them for creating our GitHub account. So to do that, I'm saying git config space -- and then global space user.name, and then space, then inside of the double quotation, I'm putting the username that I created. So the username that I created was Git class 2023. So you can put the username that you created for yourself. So Git class 2023. Okay. And then close the double quotation and press enter. So if I double check again with this command, git config username, git config user.name, it should show me git class 2023. Yes, git class 2023. So we actually set our username. For the email address, you can do the same thing. So we can say git config space -- global user email, and then space inside of the double quotation, just type the email address that you used in order to create your GitHub account. So for me, it was git dot tutorial dot class at gmail.com. I think this was the email address. Git.tutorial .class at gmail.com. All right, yeah, this is the one. So I'm closing this double quotation, press enter, and again we can double check this by checking the git config by command git config user.email, git config user dot email, and you can see now git.tutorial.class at gmail.com has actually been set as our email address. So it's a two-step process. You first need to configure your username by command git config -- global user.name, and inside of the double quotation put your username, and then same command, just instead of user.name you can say user.email, and then inside of the double quotation just copy and paste or type your email that you created your GitHub account with. So that's it. We actually set our or configured our username and email address, and in the next tutorial I can actually show you how to add a security by using token and these things. So until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy using Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial we want to learn a very important thing that we need actually this tutorial in order to continue our course. And it's about Git workflow fundamentals, how Git actually is working. So to understand how Git works, we have to know the workflow of it, and although it looks difficult, but it's not. So if you listen to me carefully in this tutorial, we will go through all these steps one by one. So the first step is creating a working directory. So the working directory is where you create, edits, or organize your project's file. And it represents the current state of your project and holds the actual files you are working on. For example, let's say you create a new folder and you also create a Python file inside of it, or a README file, a text file inside of it. So that will actually be your working directory. Changes you make in the working directory, for example, in a Python file that you have in your working directory, are not automatically tracked by Git. So we need to use git init command in the first place in order to initialize a new repository in our working directory. So the first step is actually creating a working directory, creating a new folder, for example, putting our information in it, like Python file, text file, any type of file that we have. Then we use the git init command in order to initialize a new repository here, or let's say connect it to the Git itself, but it's still empty one because we haven't done anything. We create an empty Git, or let's say initialize a new repository which is empty. And as I say, it's still the repository that you created is still empty, and you need to actually do other things in order to go to the next step. We need to actually use the add command, and in order to move all the information that you have, for example, that Python file that we mentioned before, into the staging area. So let's say the next step is transferring this Python file that you have into staging area. This not just Python file, it could be any file. The Python file is just an example that I'm giving you here. So to do that, again, we should use add comment. The staging area, let me give you some information about that. The staging area is an intermediate step between your working directory here and the local repository that I will explain in the next step for sure. So this acts as a holding area for changes you want to commit. By staging changes, you are preparing them for inclusion in the next commit. But you should notice, this is very important, you should notice that this is just a preparation and no actual changes happen in this stage. Again, so this is staging area, is intermediate area that is actually acting as a holder, acts as holding area for changes you want to commit. And it actually look at it as a preparation step before doing the commit. So the next step in order to make those changes is using the commit command and creating our local repository and save the changes in there. So the local repository is where Git permanently stores your project's history and changes. After staging changes in the second step, you commit them to the local repository along with a meaningful commit message. I will explain that in the next tutorials how you can do that with details, but just remember it as doing a commit after staging changes. We need to do a commit to the local repository. Each commit represents a snapshot of your project at specific points in time. But all we have explained until now, these 3 steps, is on our local machines and not the remote server. To implement these changes into the remote repository, we need to use push command. But what is the remote repository? So the remote repository is a version of your local repository hosted in a remote server, such as GitHub or GitLab. The remote repositories facilitate collaboration and backup. Multiple developers can do changes to the remote repository, and changes are synchronized between the local repository that you have here and the remote repository using different commands. For example, one of them is push. We will explain the others in the future tutorials. For now, just remember push. So let's do a quick review from the beginning. I explained all the steps for you, but let's do a quick review. Let's imagine you have a Python file, you created a new folder, you have a working directory on your computer, and you put the Python file in that new folder. So you have the file, you have the working directory. Now it's time to actually connect it to Git. To do that, we use git init in order to initialize an empty repository for us. Then we add the Python file, or let's say the file. I'm saying Python file, you may be confused. It could be any file. So we add the file to the staging area, which actually acts as a holder, and no actual changes here. And then we commit those changes in order to save those changes and create our permanent local repository here. Okay, until here it's all on our local machine. Then we want to push all these changes to the remote repository that we have on the remote server, such as GitHub or GitLab. So we use push commands and push all those changes to our remote repository that we have and save those changes there. So these are all the let's say main 4 steps when we want to create a repository in our local machine, and also when we create a repository on a remote as a remote repository, and we want to actually save those changes from our local machine to the remote repository. This is the overall workflow and fundamental of this workflow. We will complete this workflow in the future steps for sure, but this is, let's say, the initial workflow that you need to remember. These three main steps are very important, or let's say these 4 main steps, because we consider Git edit in it as well as a step. So that was it. Try to remember this process or go back to the video. Feel free to go back to the video and listen to the parts that I'm explaining again, because this is very important for the next steps, for the next tutorial. So make sure that you understood all these steps and then go to the next step, go to the next tutorial. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Right, welcome back. So here we have an exercise. In this exercise, we also summarize what we have gone through in the whole section. So it's a very, very important exercise. If you can complete this exercise, I think you're good to start using Git, I guess. So it's a very important one. So try to pause the video after we read the exercise together. Try to pause the video and do it yourself, step by step, and then we will do it together as well in the rest of the video. So the exercise is like this. You need to follow 7 steps. Okay. So the first step is creating a new repository in GitHub, and you can name it, for example, git_exercise x1. The second step is using command prompt or your terminal, if you're in Mac or Linux, and creating a new directory. You can name it, for example, ex_directory. So the namings are optional. You can use any name that you like, but these are the names that I suggest to you. And then create a text file and name it ex_test.txt. Inside the text file, you can write something like this. This is my first exercise. The third step is initializing the local working directory that you are in it, and then add and commit the changes into staging area and local repository respectively. Step 4 is pushing all the changes from local repository to remote repository. And in the 5th step, you check out the GitHub page and update the page there to see the changes. The last 2 steps are related to creating a file inside of your remote repository. And for example, you can name it git_ex1_remotes.txt. You can create this inside of GitHub, as we discussed before. And at the end, you need to apply all the changes that you have done in the remote repository into your local working directory. So again, pause the video exactly as where it is, so you can see the steps in front of you. And go ahead step by step. Do not skip any steps. Step by step until you reach to step 7, and then come back to the video to see if you have done the correct path. You have gone through the correct path or not, or if you received any error, or if any error occurred to you, you can just come back to the video and we will do it together in the rest of the video. Good luck. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the solution. The first step, if you remember, it was creating a new repository in GitHub and name it git_exercise1. So to do that, I can use this button, or I can go here to your repository section and press on new. So this will create a new repository for me. You can put a name here, for example, as we mentioned, git_ex1, and it is available. And you can put any name that you like, so it's not mandatory to use this name. You can use any other name, but this was just a suggestion. And then the description is optional. We don't want to put anything here. It should be public, so I created this public thing. And I also I don't want to add a README file because I want to add it myself. So everything as it is, I don't change these two, and I create my repository here. And this is now my repository that is created. And now I have the HTTPS URL that I can copy it to whenever I want it. Okay, this was the first step. The second step is using command prompts to create. Okay, let's go to command prompt to create the new directory. So imagine that I'm in drive C. You could be anywhere. You can use cd space double dot or cd itself in order to go to a drive or a folder, or go back. So whenever you are and you want to create your directory, it's fine in any location. Just you need to use the mk directory or mkdir and then the name of the directory. So my suggestion, the name could be ex underscore directory. Okay. And so I want to make this directory, and then I want to go inside of that directory. So how can I go inside of that? I'm using cd command, cd ex underscore directory. Enter. Now I'm inside this directory. This is a local directory that we created here. And the next step is actually, it's not a step, we are still in step 2. We need to still make a text file and name it ex underscore text.txt. And we need to put some text inside of it actually. So to do that, I'm using the echo method. So I can easily type echo. Then I should write the text that I want to be inside of my text file. So I think the ones that we want, I suggested was, this is my first exercise. So let's write that down. This is my first exercise. All right, exclamation mark. And then I need dot, then I need more equal sign, and then the name of the file. So we can put a name as I suggested, ex underscore test.txt. So ex underscore text.txt. So if I enter right now, and if I check inside my directory, you can see that you have your text file, ex underscore text.txt, and this is the text that is actually written inside this text file. All right, so I think the second step actually finished. So now we are in the third step. The third step was initializing the local working directory. So to do that, we need to use git init method. Now we have initialized empty git repository in ex underscore directory, and that's it. This is what we want. We initialized empty git repository, and everything is ready. The next part is actually adding and committing the changes. What is the change? Is actually this text file that we want to add and commit to our repository. So what we need to do is using add command. So we are saying git add the name of the text file. Here it is, ex underscore text.txt. Enter, and that's it, done. And we need to commit that. So we're saying we can check the status too. So if we check the status at the moment, I really like to check the status in every step. So now you can see that no commit yet. You haven't done any commit commands, but you have added this file ex_text.txt, but it changes. This is the changes that need to be committed. This new file. So in order to commit that, I can use the git commit method. And if you remember, -m for the message, and inside of the double quotation, we should put the message that we want to add. So let's say, for example, this is my first exercise. And that's it. So now everything committed, one file changed, one file inserted. And this was actually the third step. Fourth step is pushing all the changes from local repo to remote repository. So to do that, if you remember, we first need to add the origin. That was the repository URL or HTTPS that we want to connect to our repository. So to do that, I'm using the remote method. So first of all, I can check if it is this repository or this local directory is now connected to any origin or not. To check that, I can use git remote-v. So as you can see, at the moment, it doesn't give us anything. When it doesn't give us any feedback, anything back, it means that it is not connected to any origin. It is not connected to any URL or HTTPS, okay? So in order to connect that, if you remember, we need to use git git remote add origin, and then the URL thing. So if you go back to this repository, as you can see here, if we copy this HTTPS and paste it here, what will happen? So let's see. So if I paste this here, and if I add this origin, and if I check again git remote-v, you can see that it is now actually connected to this origin that you defined for it. All right, but let's see if we can push our changes into this origin. So the first thing, if you remember, we need to change the branch to main because already it's in master. So we need to specify the branch name that is main. We want it to be in main. So we say git branch -m main. And the last thing is pushing it. So let's see if it works. So git push -u origin main. Press enter. You can see that it will give you an error. If you remember, we have that this error have occurred to us previously as well. In the previous lectures, I explained how you can solve this error by creating a token, personal token for yourself. So to do that, I can go back to here, the area that I have here, my dashboard. I can go back to here, this section, this dashboard panels, and go to the setting part, then go to the at the end of it, to go to the developer setting, and then personal access token. Let's go for classic, and let's generate a new token for myself, generate new token classic, and you need to put the password again here, and then confirm, and then click on this repo, and it could be for 7 days, for example, and generate token. Oops, I forgot to put a name here. For example, let's put a name for it. For example, exercise token, let's call it, okay? And then generate token, and the token is now generated. So this is the token that is generated. And as I mentioned before, make sure to copy your personal access token now. You won't be able to see it again. As soon as you close this page, you cannot see this again. So my suggestion was copy this and also copy the URL, the HTTPS of the origin to the same notepad or I don't know, notepad++, anything that you have, a Word file, and then make some changes and then copy it in the CMD. So that's what I'm going to do at the moment. All right, so I'm back in my CMD, my terminal. And now what I need to do is first removing the previous remotes that we have here, and then again adding the remotes with git add origin, adding another origin with our personal token. So to do that, I first say git remove origin, and then recheck if it is connected to any origin, remote -v. Now you can see there is no feedback. It means there is no origin. We successfully removed it. And then we redo it again. So we are saying git add, git remote add origin. And this time I just copy and paste the HTTPS, this time with my personal token. I just copy it and paste it here. So remember that this is your personal token. This is where your personal token should go. Then you separate it with @ sign with the rest of the URL. So we have HTTPS : / your token @ the rest of the HTTPS address. So if I press enter at the moment, and if I git remote -v again to check where are we at the moment, so you can see that these are our new origins. We successfully connected to them, and then I'm using git again changing the branch. So I'm saying git branch -m main and git push -u origin main. Right, now you can see that everything is pushed to my remote repository. I can even check that out. So let's go. This is our remote repository with nothing. If I refresh this is actually step 5, right? So in step 5, I asked you to check out the GitHub page and update the page to see the changes. So I can simply update this by using this button, and everything is updated. Yes, here it is. This is my exercise. This is a text file that you have successfully added to your repository. This could be a Python file. This could be any types of code that you are using, you are working with. This could be any file actually. So not just a text file. Text file was a good example, was a simple example that we are using in this course. So congratulations, we have finished this step 5 too. Now 2 steps remain. The first is a step 6, that is creating a text file inside of the remote repository, which is here actually. So let's create a new file, and I want to call it, for example, as I'm suggested in the beginning of the tutorial, I can name it git_exercise1_remote, for example, .txt. It should be in a main branch, And then here inside of it, you can type anything that you like. This is a test, for example, and then commit those changes. Click on that. You don't have to change anything here. Commit directly to the main branch. This is the name. Everything is set. Commit the changes. And now changes are committed. And you have your git underscore exercise 1 underscore remotes here in your remotes repository. But the step 7 is actually, I'm asking you how you can apply the changes into your local machine, into your local working directory. Remember, there was a difference between local working directory and local repository. So I'm not asking you to transfer this file into your local repository. I'm asking you to directly transfer it, or let's say apply it to your local working directory. To do that, I cannot use fetch method. I have to use pull method. So I can simply open my terminal, my commands prompt. And before that, before pulling all the changes from the remote repository to working directory, I can even check my working directory to see what's going on. Okay, I open it up. This is the working directory, ex underscore directory that we created via commands prompt or terminal. It's in drive C, and I created the x underscore text, and this is all I have in my working directory. And there is no sign from the text file that we created in our remote repository inside of our GitHub. So to see all those changes that we have done through our remote repository in GitHub, here also in our local machine, in our local directory, I can use git pull method, enter, everything done. So if I go back to that directory again, you can see the git underscore x1 underscore remote as well. I can open this up with Notepad. You can see that everything is here. This is a test and all is set. All right, so we have gone through the whole process actually with this exercise. It was very, very interesting for me. I hope you enjoyed that too. So it was not only an exercise, it was also a summary of what we have done through this section. And I guess it was interesting. I hope you enjoyed that. And try to exercise more for yourself, something similar to this, but try to follow all the steps from the beginning to the end so you don't miss anything in Git. Until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, I want to show you how you can create a directory on your computer, and also create a README file, for example, a text file, all using the command prompt commands that we learned before in one of the tutorials. If you skip that tutorial, please go back to learn how to use the basic commands of the command prompt or terminal of your computer, of your operating system. And so in this tutorial, what we want to do is actually first creating a folder or directory, and then creating a README file in it. There is an easier way for that, to just create a new folder and add a text file in it, and that's for sure okay. But I want to show you the difficult way, because you know the easy way. So let's learn the difficult way using the command prompt, because it will be helpful and more professional when you are using Git and commands prompts. So it's not actually that complicated. So the first thing that I need to do here, for example, I want to go, because I want to create my directory in drive C, it depends on you. So I want to go back 2 steps. So if you remember, I'm using the cd command, cd double dot, it goes back 1 step, then cd double dot again. Now I'm in a drive. I'm in the drive C of my computer. So the next thing that I want to do is using the mkdir, or let's say make directory command, in order to create a folder, or let's say directory name git underscore course. So if I press enter, now this git underscore course is actually created. To check that out, I can use the ls method. So there are a couple of things here in my drive C. If we look for the one that we created, here it is, git underscore course. This is the one that we created. So the next thing that you need to do is create a after you made sure that you created your directory. What we want to do is actually creating a README file inside this directory. So the first thing that we need to do is actually going to our directory that we created, git underscore course. So to do that, I'm using cd command, git underscore course. Right, now I'm in git underscore course, that is my directory. And if I check ls command, you can see that it shows nothing. It means that nothing at the moment is inside this directory. It's empty, completely empty. What we want to do is creating a text file, a README file in this step. So to do that, I'm using the echo method. So I'm saying echo, and you can add a text, even you can add your text. For example, let's say, hi, let's create our first repo. Let's put in the complete name, repository, and dot more equal, more sign, and then space, the name of the README file that you want. Usually they put README, so we do the same, and then .txt. It means that it's a text file. So let's review what we have done. We use the echo method or echo command, let's say, and then we have our text file here that we want actually to put this text inside our text file. Then we close it and then put the name of the text file and .txt. So if I press enter at the moment, it will show you actually nothing, but it is there. So the text file, README file is created. You can check that with ls method. You see the text file is here, README file, readme.txt. So what you can do, you can actually go to drive C of your computer, and you can see the directory that you created, and you can open it up. You can go to the text file, and you can see that there is a text file, there is a README file there with this text inside of it. Hi, let's create our first repository, and that's there. So that was it. I actually showed you how you can create your first repository inside your local machine and create a file there, all using the command prompt methods and commands. And the easier way, as I told you in the beginning, is actually create a folder in your drive C, name it git underscore course, or any name that you like, and also add a text file there. And that would be very, very easy by right clicking and saying a new text file, something like that, and rename it to README. And that's it. That's all the things that we want. So I showed you the difficult way. You can go the easier way as well. And now we are ready because we have our directory and we have our README file. And now we want to connect everything to our repository that we had created before in GitHub. That was it. Until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in the previous tutorial, I showed you how to create a directory and on your local machine, and also create a README file in command prompt in your terminal. And you remember that we created git underscore course. So you can check inside of this. You can see that we have a README file, a text file. So let's clear this. If you're in Windows, you can use CLS. If you're in Mac or Linux, you can use clear. I'm in Windows, I'm using CLS, so everything is cleaned up. And now we can actually, what we have done is we actually created a directory for ourselves, or let's say created a folder, a simple folder or directory that is not a Git repository. What we need to do, what I want to show you in this tutorial, is how to change this repository directory or a simple folder to a Git repository on your local machine. To do that, I'm using the git init command. So I'm not using it at the moment. Before that, I want to show you another command that actually check the status of your folder or repository. Let's say you don't remember the git_course was a repository or a simple directory, simple folder. To check that out, you can use the git status. So this git status is something that you use it so much in future when you will be a professional in actually using Git. You will use this so many times. Even during this course, I'm using this git status so many times. Every time that I want to start something, first I check the status of that, and then I will use the different commands for it. So the first thing that you need to do every time that you are in your directory is using the git status command in order to check the status of your directory. So if I press enter, you can see that it will mention fatal, not a Git repository. So it means that you have your directory here, git_course, but it's not a Git repository. So to actually create a Git repository, or let's say to convert this simple directory to a Git repository, I want to use git init command. So I'm simply say git init, and that's it. Because we are inside of the simple repository, directory that we have here, and if I use git init command, it actually convert this git_repository, git_course, sorry, into a Git repository. So if I press enter, you can see that it mentioned initialized empty Git repository in C git_course.git. It means that we actually converted this simple directory or simple folder into a Git repository, and that's it. That's what we wanted to do. So this is a very important step after creating your directory, your simple directory, or let's say unversioned project or existing folder that you have that is not a Git. So you use first git status in order to check the status of your directory. You see it's not a Git directory, so Git repository. So we use the git init in order to change or convert this directory into a Git repository. And that's it. It was a very quick tutorial in order to show you this important step. Let's go to the next tutorial to learn more. Welcome back. So in the previous tutorial, we learned how to create a Git repository in our local machine from a simple directory. So at the moment, our git_course is not a simple directory, is a Git repository, but it's a Git repository. So to check that out again, let's use git status. As I mentioned in the previous tutorial, you should use this several times. So this time, if I check the git status, instead of saying, okay, git_course is not even a repository, it is giving me actually the information of this repository that we created. Okay, it's on the master branch, no commits yet, untracked file. So here in the untracked file, it is mentioning that, okay, you have a file named readme.txt or text file that is not actually a part of this repository to include in what will be committed. So nothing added to commit, but untracked file present. So it means that you have an untracked file named readme.txt, and it's not added to commit. So it even telling you what to do. It says use git add to track. It means that use the git add command in order to add this file that exists, that presents in your repository to commit. So to do that, I can use the add method as is mentioned, git add method or git add command. So I'm saying git add the exact name that you can see here, readme.txt. Git add readme.txt. So if I press enter, it will show you nothing, but it actually added the readme.txt to the area or let's say to the staging area that we discussed before, and it is ready now, this readme.txt, to be committed. And I will show you how you can do that in the next tutorial. So what we have done, let's review what we have done. We checked the status of repository. We saw that there is a file named readme.txt that we created before that is not actually presented in our repository, but it's not, as it mentioned, nothing added to commits, but an tracked file present. So we need to use the git add command in order to add this. So I use the git add readme.txt in order to add this readme file into the staging area in order to be ready to be committed to my Git. So, so in the next tutorial, we will actually I will show you how you can use the commit method in order to actually create a snapshot of the state changes. And okay, until then, keep exercising. Welcome back. So in the previous tutorial, we actually added the README file inside of the git_course repository to the staging area. And now it's time to commit that. So how we can know that which stage we are? So as I mentioned before, every time you need to use git status to make sure what's going on into your repository. So if I check the git status, you can see that this time it's mentioning that no commits yet, and there is some change. There are some changes to be committed. That we have a new file, readme.txt. So we added the readme.txt, but it's not committed yet, and it is actually warning you that you need to make some changes to be committed, and this is the one that you need to commit, readme.txt. So to do that, what I'm doing is using the git commit method and saying git commit, just like this, and then I need to add a message. So I'm using -m, then space. Inside of the quotation, I will add a message to it. So this message is helpful, for example, in the future. If you check out your repository in GitHub, you can see that these are the changes. So you can actually give some hints to yourself that's saying that these are the changes that I've made. For example, here, let's say, for example, adding the README file. So you can write anything that you like. So this is completely optional to add whatever you want. So this is just a message that it will show it to you actually anytime that you commit into your repository in the GitHub. So again, let's review. We added the readme.txt in the previous tutorial. Then we check the status of the our repository, and it's mentioned that okay, this readme file added, but it has not been committed yet. Then we use the git commit -m, this -m, and then the message that we want to show us in the GitHub. So then we press enter, and you can see that adding the readme file, one file changed, one insertion. And it means that this message actually means that it created it actually committed the readme file that we had into the master branch. So That was it. We actually committed our README file in this tutorial. It was a very quick tutorial. Until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy using it. Welcome back. So in a previous tutorial, we learned how to commit our file into our repository. And right now, everything is set. We can check that out again with using the Git status, like always, to see if there's nothing else remain to do. So if you press enter, you can see that it will show you the branch, and it will showing you this message that nothing to commit, working tree clean. When you see this message, it means that everything is set, everything is configured now, and you don't have to do anything else because there's no other changes to be added or committed to your repository. And we are all set for now. But the thing is, after committing, the file is still on your local machine, and we have to push it on host. So the host is actually GitHub, for example, or GitLab, or any other platform that you are using. The first thing that we need to do before doing all of these things, first I want to show you a very useful command, git log, that we will use this one in the next tutorials also. But for now, I just want to check something. So the first thing is it showed you some information about the last commits that have been done. For example, this is the dates that we have done the last commits, and also they're mentioning what has been done, adding the README file, and also it shows you where is the head is actually pointing. I mean the branch that is pointing. So the head is actually pointing to the branch master here. What we need to do is also changing this branch name as well to the main, because as you explained before, the main, or let's say the initial branch in GitHub, changed from master to main. So we will go through all these steps step by step. Don't worry, don't panic. So I just wanted to show you how you can use the git log command. It will be useful. Sometimes it will give you good information about what have you done before, just like the status. And the next thing that we should do is actually, as I said, the file is still on our local machine, and we have to push it in the host platform. So what we can do is first checking out that if our repository is connected to that repository that we created in a GitHub or not. To do that, what I can do is saying git remote space -v. So if I press enter and it shows you nothing, just like here, it means that the repository in your local machine is not connected to any host platform like GitHub. So in order to connect this actually to the repository that we created on GitHub, or any other platform that you're using, like GitLab, Git, any other platform, there's no difference. So you can use other platforms too. GitHub is just an example here that we are using in this course. So I'm saying git remote add. Now I want to add origin. So what is the origin? The origin, after space, the origin is actually, you need to paste the exact URL of the repository that you created in GitHub. So I will open up again the GitHub repository. This is the GitHub repository that we created with together. If you remember, if you lost this, you can simply go to here in your account section and your dashboard section, and you can go to your repositories. And here in the repository part, you can see that we have just one repository that we created with together, and it's named first repo. So click on that. It will open up this section for you. So This is all the information that you want from your repository. You have HTTPS and also SSH URL here. What we want here is HTTPS. So just switch it to HTTPS and copy it from here. So you can see here a copy button. Just copy it. It's now copied, or you can simply copy it like this. No difference. Just copy it and then close this one. Here in front of the origin, just press Ctrl V and you can see that it will paste it for you here. The exact address of our repository that we created in GitHub. So if I press enter, it actually connects this local repository that named git_course to this repository that I created on GitHub platform. Or again, this could be any other platform. It shouldn't be GitHub. So GitHub is just an example platform that we are using in this course. But if you're using any other platform like GitLab, for example, just copy and paste the URL of HTTPS of the GitHub, of the repository that you created here in front of the origin. Git remote add origin and the address that you have on the platform. All right. Everything is set. If I press enter, that's it. Now I'm connected to this repository. Now I actually connected this Git course repository to this repository that I created in on GitHub. So if I check the Git remote -v again, you can see that this time it will showing me that the origin is actually the previous time I used the git remote -v, it showed me nothing, you remember. But when I actually added this origin to my git remote, now if I check the git remote, you can see that in the origin we have the address of the repository on GitHub, github.com, git class 2023, and the first repo.git. And that's it. So we actually connected our local repository to our GitHub host. And what we need to do in the next tutorial actually is actually pushing the README file that we have in our repository or any other information that we have in our local repository into this repository that we created on GitHub. Until next tutorial, keep exercising. Hello and welcome back. So in this tutorial, we will learn how we can push the information, all the information in our local machine into the repository that we created in the previous tutorials on GitHub or any other platform that you are using. So what we want to do is first, just like before, we check some of the status of the our Git. So Git status, you can see that nothing to commit, working tree is clean, everything is clean right now. So the next thing that I want to check is git remote -v in order to check if it is connected to the GitHub or not. And as you can see, we learned how to do this in the previous tutorial and how to connect it to the GitHub, our local repository. And you can see that the origin at the moment is this one. Okay, now if I want to push this into GitHub, the first of all, I need to do is actually changing the branch name, because as I mentioned before, the Git is on master branch, but the initial branch of the GitHub and several other platforms, they change it to main. So in order to not some errors not occur to us, we need to change this one as well. So I'm saying git, and the method is actually saying branch -m, and the name of the branch that we want, that is main, sorry. So the next line is just one line and saying in order to push the information, I'm saying git push, and and -u origin that we have here. This is the name, the URL that we actually connected our local repository to GitHub. So I'm saying origin and the name of the branch, which is main. All right. If I press enter right now, let's see what will happen. All right. So it will give us an error. What is the error? It's mentioning that permission to Git class 2023 first repo.git denied to this user. So this is unable to access this one. So what does this mean and how we can solve this error? So the error is actually saying that I'm using so this user is actually me, but not the user that we created together for this course. So this is my original GitHub account or GitHub username that I used previously. But for this course, I'm using this user, and it is not letting me to do that. And it's actually understandable because even you can connect to the repository that I just created, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be a little bit more, there should be some more protection in order to protect my repository from others in order to connect to it. So to actually solve this, long story short, what we need to do is going back to GitHub account. So this is my GitHub page, my GitHub repository, if you remember. And here, just go to the this area to your dashboard, and you can see there is a setting here. Just click on setting. And here in the setting of your dashboard, you can go all the way down until you find developer setting. Then we have a couple of options. We want to create a personal access token. So click on this. There's a beta version at the moment, but I prefer to go with the classic one. So click on classic. Just here also generate a new token classic. And it asks you for your password. Just give it a password that you used before and confirm. And now we are in the area that we can generate our personal access token. All right. So this is not very complicated. What's this token for? It's optional. You can just add, I don't know, tutorial. You can add anything that you like. And here the expiration is very important. You can add it's 7. You can, first of all, you can set no expiration, but it's strongly recommended by also GitHub that you set expiration dates for your token to help you to help your information secure, keep your information secure. And we do that. So let's create it. For example, let's create this token for 30 days or 7 days. I don't know. Then here we don't need to, we just need to check this one and just skip the rest of them. And then create or generate token. All right, our token is generated. And what we need to do is actually, I just blurred this up because it's I don't have any confidential in this repository, but I just want to show you that this is a security thing. So you need to keep it for yourself, and it's like a password for you. So just copy this and remember to paste it somewhere that you remember. For example, a notepad, create a notepad or notes file for yourself, a text file for yourself, and copy and paste it there. Because as long as we have this page open, we have access to this code. But as soon as you close it, you don't have access to it anymore. So just copy this and paste it somewhere in a notepad or a Word file in order to keep it. So we want, if you want to use it in the future, you can use this code again. Or even if you forget it, no worries, nothing will happen. Just generate a new token. You can go to the to that process that I explained again, and you can generate a new token for yourself. And that's it. We created this token, we copied it, and then here, instead of instead of actually remote connecting to this origin, we need to add the token that we created as well to that. So how we can do that? First, let's remove the previous origin that we connected to it. So we say git remove, and then we say we use remove method origin. Right, we want to remove the previous origin that we connected to. Let's remove that. If I check the git remote -v again, we can see that it's not connected anymore. It doesn't show me these two anymore. So it means that we removed it successfully. So the next step, to do that, I'm just using the previous method that I was using, git remote add origin. And again, I need the URL HTTPS. So I go back to here. I just copied this into a notepad. Remember to copy this one, this token. Then go back to your repository and copy this in HTTPS, copy it, and then paste it here again. But this time, what we need to do is adding a token between this HTTPS colon // then you need to add a token and @ the rest of it. So what I need to do is actually copy again the token. I copied it into a text file. So I just copy it and I paste it exactly here. All right, not a good place. So let's remove it again. And now if I go back with my keyboard, let's just paste it here. Now it's working. So here we have the until here. Okay, so here you need to add sign, and that's it. I think everything is set. So what I have added here is actually the token that we created with together. I blurred it out, and the rest is actually I added an @ sign, and the rest is the exact same thing that we had as HTTPS. So if I press enter again, let's see what will happen. Right, I need to go to the end of this line. I press enter, and now it is actually connected to this one. Now if we go back to what we have done before, and we got error for pushing the information to our repository. So we are saying git again branch -m main, and then git push -u, again the name of the origin, and also the name of the branch. And if I press enter, it shouldn't give me that error anymore because I'm using the token. So if I press enter, you can see that it is giving me an error that repository not found. The problem is maybe we have actually copy and paste not correctly. So what I'm suggesting is actually copy and paste the HTTPS and also the token into the same notepad and just create it there. So maybe I made a mistake there. So I just pause the video for myself and do it and then paste it again. All right, so I did that. So let's remove the previous one again. So I need to, if you have done the same mistake as me, you should remove it again. So I'm saying git remove origin, then git remove, again I want to add something, so I'm saying add origin. Now I have copied and pasted everything into a notepad, and I'm copying it from the notepad to here. So I'm saying Control V. So this is my new HTTPS file, HTTPS address with the personal token that we created with together. I press enter, and then git Same thing, just like before, git branch dash m main and git push dash u origin main. All right. Now we can see that everything worked correctly. So you need to actually get something like this, that mentioning that it has been done and 100% completed, and everything pushed into the main branch that as you wanted, branch main set up to track origin main. So this means that we pushed everything into our repository in GitHub. And in order to make sure you can go back to your repository, just let's open it up again. If you actually update this page, now you can see that actually we have something in our repository. We have a README file, and inside the README file, if you remember, we typed, "Hi, let's create our first repository." Congratulations, we actually went through the whole process of making a local repository, connecting it to the host platform, a web platform, and then pushing the information from the local repository to this platform. Very easy, right? So now let's review what we have done in the previous sections into the next tutorial, and we continue with learning more. Until then, keep exercising. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to talk about pull and fetch comments. But before that, recall we had gone through the Git workflow when we wanted to update the remote repository, and when we have some changes on our working directory and we want to update the remote repository. You know the process. So if we go through that again very quickly, we add the file when we have some changes here. We add the file to the staging area. Then we commit the changes to the local repository when we save the changes. And then we push them into the remote repository using the git push command. So what if the process is somehow opposite? So it means that what if you have some changes on your remote repository and you want to update the local repository or let's say the working directory? If this is the case, then we need to use fetch or pull commands, these two commands. Okay, what are these commands? Let me explain them. So in Git, the fetch command, this one, is used to retrieve changes from a remote repository without automatically merging them into your local working directory, this one. So it updates your local copy of the remote branches, allowing you to see what changes have been made in the remote repository since your last interaction. So again, just showing you the changes in your local repository, the changes that have been done into your remote repository. So imagine you have some changes in your remote repository. If you use the git fetch, it just shows you the changes in your local repository without actually showing them into your local working directory, something like that. Okay. In other words, we use git fetch when we want to retrieve updates from the remote repository to see what changes have been made without affecting your local branch's local working directory. The fetched changes are stored into your local repository, as I mentioned. And remember, these changes, again, are not automatically merged into your working directory here. So this is how fetch work and how fetched changes actually is stored. What about pull? So on the other hand, in Git, the pull command is used to update your local repository by fetching changes from the remote repository and automatically merging them into your current local working directory. So doing both with together. It combines two actions, git fetch to retrieve remote changes and git merge to integrate them into a single command. So the pull command is especially useful for quickly updating your local branch or let's say working directory, the latest changes from remote repository. So in general, we use git pull when we want to both fetch changes from the remote repository and apply them to our local working directory. So let's quickly review what we said in this tutorial. We have when we want to update changes from our working directory to remote repository, the process is clear. We discussed that, adding, committing, and pushing. Vice versa, if we want to we have changes in remote repository and we want to actually store them in our local machine or let's say local repository or working directory, we need to use fetch and pull commands. What are the differences? What is the main difference between fetch and pull commands? Fetch only stores the updates into local repository, and it is not automatically merged or made the changes into your working directory. While using pull, you can fetch the changes into your from remote repository to your local repository and apply them to your local working directory to here as well. So these are the differences. So if you are confused a little bit, just go back to the video. I'm sure you will understand it. It's not very complicated, and you just go back to the video, listen to what I'm saying again, and review it for yourself, and it will be very, very useful before starting the next tutorial. And the next tutorial, the next tutorial is actually hands-on the command prompt and the commands pull and fetch. So it will be very, very interesting. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to learn how we can use fetch and pull commands in Git. And before that, we are in GitHub, our GitHub portal or dashboard, let's say. And we want to make some changes to our repository. As I said in the previous tutorial, pull and fetch methods are used when we have some updates or changes in our remote repository and we want to actually make those changes in our local repository and local working directory as well. So first, let's make some changes in our remote repository, then we can pull or fetch those changes into our local machine. So to do that, I'm going here to my repository section. Here we only have one repository, just click on that. And if you remember, we created the previous time we created a README file completely from our local machine. We created the README file, we put this text inside of it, and we pushed it into our first repository here, and we saw the changes. But right now I want to make another README file, let's say, for example, another file. So here, just click on add file and click on create new file here. And here it will open up automatically a README file for you, and you can simply write something in it. For example, let's say this is a test for fetch and pull comments. All right. So here we added some change. We added some text here, and you can put a name for your file. For example, let's say pull test, something like this. Pull test.txt. And then let's keep the branches main just like before. And we simply can commit the changes using this commit change. Click on that. And then commit message, that's fine. The extended description, you can add, it's optional, you can add a description here. And commit directly to the main branch. Yes, we don't want to create a new branch here. We want to commit the changes in the previous branch that we were working on and commit the changes. And that's it. So now we have a pull test.txt along with the README file that we created before. But this is in our remote repository. If you remember, we had remote repository, this one on GitHub, and we have our local repository, or let's say, and also a working directory in our local machine. So how we can actually see those changes in our local machine as well. For example, let me show you the directory that we have at the moment in our local machine. Right, for me, for example, it was it was in drive C, it was in Git course. If you remember, we created a folder, and this was the README file that we created with our commands prompt window or terminal. And this was the first README file, this readme.txt. So you can even we can even open it up with Notepad, for example. You can see the same text. Hi, let's create our first repository. Everything is here. So everything was same before between my remote repository and local repository and a working directory that I'm in it at the moment, Git course. So, but if you can, as you can see, there is nothing. We have pull_test in our remote repository. We created it here. But we don't have it in our local repository, in our local machine. And to actually do that, we need to use the pull command and fetch command in order to see these changes in our local machine as well. Okay, so to do that, I'm opening up the command prompt window again. Let me open up the command prompts. This is my command prompt window. And what I need to do is first going to the directory that I have. So my directory was git_course in drive C. So what I need to do is actually, if you remember from the commands of the command prompt, we need to use cd double dots in order to go back one level. Again, cd double dots. Again, now we are in drive C. Now I can even check the drive C, for example, ls. You can find your working directory here. Our working directory was git_course, this one that we have here. So if you have the same name, just type it cd git_course. So now we are in git_course. Now we are actually in our working directory. So this working directory, we have initialized it. So everything is set there. You can even check the status of it, git status, to check everything. So everything is clean, nothing to be committed, working tree is clean, everything is set. But the thing is, when you want to pull, when you want to fetch or pull, you need to use the git. For example, let's first use the fetch in order to see what are the changes, in order to see what will change actually in our local repository and working directory. So if I use well, let's type git fetch. So git fetch. Press enter. It will show you some lines, for example, these lines, and it is actually telling you that I'm bringing some objects that you have in your remote repository into your local repository from origin main. This is what it is telling you. But if I open up the folder that I had here on my computer, you can see that's in drive C, Git course folder. You can't see any changes. We don't have the other text file that we created in our remote repository, right? We don't have it here. And that's because, as I mentioned in a previous tutorial, fetch actually does not make changes into your local directory. it only makes changes into your local repository, and in order to actually apply those changes into your local local working directory as well, we need to use the pull command instead of the fetch command. But in order to check something, so what if I want to just use the git fetch and check my local repository? In order to check that, I can use git log, for example. There are different commands, for example, git diff, git log. But git log is better. It will actually show you what's going on into your local repository. So if I press enter at the moment, you can see that. All right, the thing is, even now that we fetched the file, the thing is, when we use the git log, it doesn't show us what happened actually, what changes had happened in our remote repository. You can see the last thing that is done is adding the README file. That was the previous one that we have done with together, right? So the new thing, the new change in the remote repository is not actually, it is not showing that change to us. And the reason for that is, as you can see here, we will discuss this head main thing in the next tutorials. But for now, you can see that this head is actually pointing toward the branch that we are in. So we're in a main branch at the moment. And this history is actually related to the main branch. But the changes that we have done is actually on the origin main branch. So in order to check out the origin main branch, maybe we can use another command checkout here. So in order to see what happened with this fetch, git fetch command that we used before. Right, so let's use that. So if I say, for example, git checkout origin main and press enter, you can see that now it is actually telling us that you are in the detached head state. You can look around, make experimental changes and several other things. And there is some information that is giving to you actually. And at the end, it is saying that head is now at create pull underscore test.txt. That's exactly the text file that we created with together. So, and the interesting part is actually if I open up the directory here again, you can see that the pull test is actually added here. I can even open it up, and you can see that this is a test for fetch and pull commands. We use the fetch commands, but it's there and we can see it, and that's because we are actually switched, or let's say we switched to origin main, not the main branch. So it is a little bit complicated, but I don't want to confuse you at the moment. But the thing is, we need to switch back again. It is actually telling you use git switch in order to go back to the main branch that you were in it. So we can simply say git switch main. And now you can see that we are now in the main branch again. Previous head position was this one. Switch to the branch main. Your branch is behind by one commit, and you can be fast forwarded. So it is actually telling you what's going on exactly. You are behind by one commit, and you can be fast forwarded, and so on. So it is actually telling you at the end, use git pull to update your local branch. You see, still our local branch is not updated. If you open up again your local repository here, or local working directory here, you can see that the pull underscore test file is not here anymore. I didn't delete it. I didn't delete it, but it is actually automatically deleted because I actually switched to the main branch again. When we want to have actually to update our local branch, the local branch is actually this main branch. Our local branch in our local machine, we need to use the git pull. So I'm using git pull right now. If I press enter, you can see that it is mentioning that, updating this, fast forward, pull underscore test.txt, one file changed, one insertion, and it is actually telling you that everything is done. So you have did both fetch changes from the remote repository and applied them to your local working directory. If you open the local working directory again, you can see that again we have the pull test here. So let's review what we have done. I think it was a little bit confusing in the middle, but it's not. So in the beginning, I started with going to my repository and my working directory actually. So I was in my working directory, checked the status, and then I used the git fetch. By using the git fetch, I actually brought the created text file that I created in the remote repository in the beginning of the tutorial into our local repository, and we saw it by checking out from the main branch to origin main branch, and we saw it was there. And then in order to implement all those changes, or let's say apply all those changes that we had on our remote repository into local repository as well, I used git pull, in order to bring the pull underscore test.txt file that I created in my remote repository. And it works very well. One file changed, one insertion, and we checked the working directory and we saw it's there, so everything is set. And I hope you understood the difference between fetch and also pull, but usually you use git pull when you want to apply all those changes that you have in your remote repository into your working directory. But I just wanted to explain how fetch works as well, so you won't be confused if you heard the word fetch and also fetching and the git fetch command and these things. So you will be aware of those commands as well. That was it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to learn about branches and how they can help us. Until now, we worked several times with branches, but now in this section, and especially in this tutorial, we want to dive into the details of what branches and how it can help us. So in the context of version control system like Git, a branch refers to an independent line of development that diverges from the main code base, usually the default branch such as master or main. Why we have two names, I explained this before. The industry has been moving towards more inclusive terminology, and main is increasingly being used to replace master as the default branch name. So why do we need branch? So this is a very good question actually. Let me explain this like this. Branches allow multiple developers to work on different features or fixes simultaneously without interfering with each other's work. That is very important actually. Each branch represents a separate snapshot of the code base, allowing changes to be isolated and tested before merging them into the main branch. This isolation makes branches a powerful tool for collaboration and organized software development. Okay, this may be a little bit confusing in the first place. So let me explain this with graph and also with simpler words. So let's say we want to start with the same code base, typically in the default branch, like main or master. We have a default branch. And then you start to commit on your projects, several commits, let's say, for example, commit 1, commit 2, commit 3. And you make changes, add new codes, and commit your work even to a new branch. Let's call it, for example, feature B branch, right? And sometimes in a main branch, you do the change, you commit the changes. Your working directory reflects the changes you've made in this branch, for example, branch B and also main branch. While your colleague does the same, making changes and committing them to the feature A branch, commit 5 or commit 6, for example. So their working directory also reflects their changes. So remember, here is the actually important note, and very important note. The feature A branch that you can see here, your colleague is working on it, and the feature B branch that you created for yourself in order to not conflict things with the main branch are independent of each other. It's very important to know that. Actually, this is the main feature of using branches. So your changes and your colleagues' changes are isolated within their respective branches. And this isolation allows you both to work concurrently without interfering with each other's code. So once you're satisfied with the changes, all the changes that in your feature B branch, for example, you can merge it back into the main branch, just like this. And your colleague can do the same thing by merging the feature A branch actually back to the main branch. The changes you made in the feature B branch and the changes your colleague made in the feature A branch are now part of the main code base after merging. So the branches enable efficient collaboration, as you can see, by allowing each developer, you and your colleagues, to work on separate features or fixes things in isolation actually. This helps prevent conflicts and ensures that changes can be thoroughly tested before being integrated into the main branch. And that's a very, very good feature of using branches when you're using Git. I hope you understood the basics of the branch and why actually we are using branch and how we are using branch with our colleagues. This was just a concept. In the future tutorials, we go it's hands-on Git and how we can make branches, merge branches and these things. And it will be very, very interesting and exciting. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy using Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to talk about head and why it is important. So if you remember, previously we used git log, and this is what git log showed to us. And you can see there is a head that pointing to main branch at the moment. So in Git, head is a special pointer or reference that points to the latest commit in the currently checked out branch. So it essentially represents the tip of the branch you are currently working on. So it is a crucial reference that helps you understand your current position in the commit history and the state of your repository as well. Let me give you an example so you can understand it better. So imagine that you are in the main branch at the moment. And it could be main or master. When I'm saying main, I mean the initial branch, the default branch, let's say. And you have some commits, commit 1, commit 2, and commit 3 on your file. And the head is actually at this moment pointing to the main branch, right? So the head at this moment is pointing to still main branch. Then imagine that you create a new branch for yourself. For example, you create in commit 3, you create a branch named feature A, and you do another commit in your new branch. So when you create a new branch, such as feature A, Git creates a new pointer. So remember, creates a new pointer that points to the same commit that the head is currently pointing to. This is a new branch pointer. This new branch pointer is now associated with a new branch name. Until now, head has not been updated yet. After creating the new branch, the head pointer remains attached to the original branch. it points to the same commit as before you created the new branch until we use git checkout or git switch command to change the head pointing to feature A branch, which you created. So let's review it very quickly again. You are working on a main branch, default branch, you do some commits, then you create a new branch and you do some commit on your new branch. Remember, head still pointing to your main branch, to your default branch, until you check out from the default branch to your new branch in order to change the head. So the head point until you don't check out or switch to your new branch, the head still pointing to the default branch. So in order to change the pointer of the head to your new branch, you need to use the checkout or switch commands in order to change the pointer of the head. That's it. So now let's go to the terminal environment or a command prompt environment to see how this actually works. Until then, keep exercising. Welcome back to this exciting tutorial. We want to actually create our new branch for the first time, and that would be very, very interesting. So the first thing that we want to do, we want to check the git log of our repository. So let's say git log, and you can see git log provides a chronological view of the commits, or let's say the commits history in chronological order. So you may see different commits, or just one commit, for example. I have done several tests before creating this tutorial, so don't worry if it is different from mine. But the only point that is important for me right now is actually finding out where the head is pointing to. And as you can see, the head at the moment is pointing to the default branch, that is the main branch. And this is because we haven't created any branch yet, and we only have one branch. And we can even check that out in our remote repository as well. If you open up GitHub again, your remote repository, and if you go to your repository that we created with together, your repository first repo, if you remember, this was the one that we created with together. And these are the files that we have in our repository, remote repository. But the thing is about the branches here GitHub is actually showing you the branches that you have. And as you can see, we only have one branch that is main, and it's the default branch. And it's also showing it here for you that you only have one branch here. So let's go back to our command prompts area or terminal. And the things that we want to do is creating a new branch, right? And it's super simple. By using the branch command, we are saying git branch and the name of the branch that you want to create. Let's say, for example, feature A is the name of the branch that we want to create. So if I press enter, feature A branch is now created for me. Remember, as I explained in the previous tutorial, we still need to switch to this branch, or let's say check git log to show us what the head is pointing to. First, you can see that still the head is pointing to main, although we created our branch feature A, but the head is still pointing to main, and that's why I emphasized in the previous tutorial that we need to actually switch to our new branch if you want to work on our new branch in order to change this head pointing to the new branch. So to do that, I can use two methods. Either I can use the checkout method or command, or switch method. So I'm using the checkout command. So let's say checkout and the name of the new branch, feature A, press enter. Now it mentioned, you can see the message that switched to branch feature A. So everything is set. We can even check that out again in order to make sure in git log. And you can see that this time in git log, it is actually, the head is pointing to feature A. Head is pointing to feature A. So If I now that we have our new branch and we also checked out, or let's say switched to our new branch, we can also make some changes in the directory that we have. For example, let's say you are collaborating with your friends or your colleagues, and you created a new branch for yourself. Now you want to work on the code that you have or the file that you have separately from them, and then at the end merge it. We will talk about the merging in the future tutorials, but for now you want to work for yourself on a new branch. So let's say, for example, if we go back to our local directory here, in a README file, let's open it up with a notepad, for example. Let's say, for example, you're coding. It's not just the README file. This is for the sake of simplicity. I'm using text file, but you can, for example, do some changes in your code. Let's say, for example, I'm adding another line here. This is a new branch named feature A, right? Exclamation mark. So I'm saving this file and then close it. And then if you check the status of your local repository, you can see that it is telling you that you modified the README file and no changes added to commit. It means that you need to first add and commit just like before. So we say git add the name of the text file or file that you are working on, readme.txt, and then we need to commit those changes. Git commit -m, let's say let's put a note here, new branch, and that's it. And that's it. So we have done some changes in our new branch, and we also added those changes to our staging area and committed those changes to our local repository in the new branch. So let's go back to the remote repository and check out what happened there. So if I open up a remote repository again, and if I even update this page, you can see that I still have one branch, and that's the main branch, although we have created the branch feature A, but it's not showing it in our remote repository. So in order to show the things in your remote repository so other collaborators can see what are you working on exactly, you need to push those push the branch first and push the changes second into your new branch. So the first step is actually saying git push origin and then the name of the branch, feature A. So if I run this now, it actually pushed the new branch that I created into my remote repository. So let's press enter. Now everything is pushed to my remote repository in this address that we already given to it using remote command, if you remember. And if I open this up again, and if I update it, you can see that it is giving me this message that feature A had recent pushes less than a minute ago. And you can see that inside below this message, we have branches. So this time, instead of one branch, we have two branches. And if you open this up, also you can see that your new branch is here, branch feature A. You can simply click on it and switch to your new branch. Just click on this, and you can see that you have the same file, README file and pull test file. But the README file here in your new branch, if you open it up, you can see that it has two lines in it instead of one line. If you remember, in the main branch, if you go back, let's go back to the main branch here. If I open up the main branch, you can see that the README file only contains one line. But if I go to my new branch, you can see that the README file contains two lines that I added the new line to it. So this could be, I think, a very good and simple example for you to understand how collaboration works in Git. So imagine you and a couple of your friends or colleagues are working on the same project, and you don't want to conflict with each other when you're working on same code, for example. So you create your own branch, simply as I explained in this tutorial, and then if you do some changes in your, you switch to your own branch, and if you do some changes, if you commit some changes to the code, they all can see that, they all can give you comments on that. But the thing is, you are not actually conflicting with them because you are not working on their branch or the main branch, let's say. So you are working on your code and separately, and they can even see that and give you comments simply in the remote repository. So that's how you work with the different branches. In the next tutorial, we will learn how we can actually merge what we have done until now to the main repository, to the main branch, I'm sorry. And that will be very, very interesting for the collaboration. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So before going to the merging parts, I just want to give you a quick notes that what you need to do when from now on you are working on your new branch and you want to do some changes and push those changes to the new branch, because we haven't done that. Although we push the branch into our remote repository, and in the first place it doesn't need to push those changes that we committed previously. But from now on that you push the origin feature A, your new branch, into the remote repository, if you do any change on your local repository, you need to push that into the remote repository as well, just like before. So the process is exactly the same. Just remember how we did it in the default branch, in the main branch. Now you're working on your new branch and you need to go through the same process. For example, let me open up the working directory, the README file again. Just open it in Notepad, and let's say you are adding a new line, for example. Just type new line. It doesn't import. It is not very important. And save it as it is and close it. And here you can check the git log first to see where the head is pointing to. The head is pointing to feature A. Everything is fine. And the next thing that you need to check is the status of your local directory. If we check that, you can see that you have modified the README file. We have done it just a minute ago. And we need to actually add those changes to the staging area and commit those changes to the local repository. We can do that very simply by saying git add readme, just like before. So it's not a new thing, just like this, and then git commit -m new changes, let's say in new branch, and enter. Now you can see that the file inserted and one file change. But the thing is, you need to push those changes into your new branch in a remote repository. So we say git push -u, just like before. Here we say origin instead of the main. We always said git push -u origin and then main. You remember? But this time, instead of main, we need to write down the new branch name, feature A. So if I press enter, you can see that all those changes are now implemented in our new branch in the remote repository. And if I check out my remote repository here and update this page again, and if I change to my new branch, remember you need to change this to your new branch, feature A. And if I check my README file, you can see that the new line that I have committed that we committed before is now here, and you can see it in the new repository. So into your remote repository. So remember, first you create a branch, you do some changes, you push the branch into the remote repository, and everybody can see that, your collaborators can see that. But after that, every change that you make, every commit that you make, you need to push those changes into the remote repository if you want your collaborators see those changes. If not, you can keep it as it is and not pushing it into the remote repository. But if you're collaborating with your colleagues, usually you want them to see what you are doing, and sometimes they comment on your code or your file. So this is a good way in order to keep them updated by pushing the changes that you committed into the remote repository as well. Do not forget that. That was it. In the next tutorial, we will go through the merging process. That will be very, very interesting. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in the previous tutorials, we learned how to create a new branch. We learned how to push that branch in the remote repository, and then do some changes, commit those changes, and also push those changes into the remote repository and collaborate with your friends. Let's say right now you are in a stage that you got all the comments from your collaborators or colleagues, and they all confirmed that you can merge your changes with in the main, or let's say default branch. So you are in that stage and you want to merge all those changes that you have done with your branch, in your branch, to the main, or let's say default branch. Or let's say you are an individual programmer, or you don't have any collaborators, so this is not just for collaboration. Let's say you have several branch for yourself in order to not conflict with each other, and then you decide to merge, for example, one of those branches into the default branch. So you can do that very easily. So the first thing that you need to do, first of all, let me check the Git log again. So this is the first thing you always need to do. Git status, Git log is something that you need to do every time. So Git log is actually showing me that the head is now pointing to feature A, the new branch that I created in the previous tutorials. But when you want to merge your file with the main branch, with the default branch, first you need to actually change the pointer of the head to the main branch, to the default branch. So to do that, what you can do is, right, if this happens to you, that you check the Git log and you had lots of history and it's just like this, you cannot type anymore, just press Q on your keyboard and it will actually end or exit from the Git log. So remember that. It's not an error or something, just press Q and it will go outside of the Git log. Okay, so again, the head was pointing to feature A, and now we want to change this head pointer to the default branch before merging. So to do that, I'm again using the checkout method. So I'm saying git checkout command, and then the name of the default branch. For example, here for me is main. It could be master. So press enter. Now we can see that it's the messages switched to the branch main, and your branch is up to date within origin main. That's all we wanted. So if I check even Git log again, in order to make sure, you can see that the head is actually pointing to the main branch at the moment. All right, so that's all we wanted. Now it's time to merge what we have done in a feature A branch to the main branch. We are in a main branch, in the default branch. Now we want to merge everything to the main branch. So let's say git merge, and the name of the branch that you want to merge to the main branch, feature A. All right, updating and fast forwarded, readme file, everything is merged, and one file changed, 3 insertions, 1 deletion, everything is changed. So now we actually merge our this branch to the main branch. So you can use this method in order to merge any branch with together. You just need to change the pointer of the head to the branch that you want to merge other branch with it, and then use the merge method, merge command, in order to merge the new branch with that branch. All right, But one thing, if I go back to my remote repository at the moment, let me open up the remote repository for now. All right, this is my remote repository in GitHub. If you open this up and if you go to the main branch, the default branch, you expect actually, if I open the README file, the two other lines that wasn't in the README file, the second line and the third line that we added in previous tutorials in the new branch, feature A, should be here, but it's not. It's not here yet. And the reason is we have merged everything, but the changes are applied to your local branch. To make those changes reflect in the remote repository's main branch, you need to push the changes to the remote repository. Let's go back to the command prompt window, and then here we simply say git push origin main, the branch that you want to merge feature A with. All right, press enter. Now you can see that it is mentioning that we are adding these changes to the remote repository that you have. So if I open that up again, the remote repository, I go to the first repo and I check the main, you can see that in a README file, you have 3 lines, and we successfully merged the feature A branch with the main branch, or let's say default branch. So again, this is not for just merging one branch with a default branch. You can merge any branches with together. You have 2 branches that you want to merge them with together. You can simply go through the same process that we have gone through this tutorial. It's the same thing. You just need to change checkouts to the branch that you want to merge the other branches with, and then use the git merge, the name of the branch that you want to merge with that branch. And that's it. You can simply do that. And at the end, remember, if you want to apply all these changes to the remote repository along with your local branch, you need to use git push origin main, or the name of the branch that you want to merge with. And actually you need to push the changes or the merge thing to the origin, to the remote repository that you have. It could be GitHub, GitLab, any remote repository. All right, so that was all about merging. Until the next tutorial, keep exercising and enjoy Git. Welcome back. So in this tutorial, we want to learn how to delete a branch, remove a branch that we previously created. Imagine that you're working with a branch, with a bunch of branches, and you want to delete one of them that you're not working on that. In order to delete a branch, you need to consider one thing. First of all, the branch is merged already with other branches or not. So in order to delete an unmerged branch locally, we have to use the command branch -d, capital D actually. So this is the uppercase. This is very important. Git branch -d branch name. So just put a branch name here and it will delete the branch locally for you. So this is when we want to delete a branch that is not merged yet. But what if we merged the branch already and we want to delete it? The only thing that you need to do in this case is changing the capital D, the uppercase, to the lowercase d. So git branch -d again, branch name, but here instead of the uppercase D, we are using the lowercase d when we want to delete a branch locally that is merged already. And at the end, this is all locally. As you can see, I'm writing here delete an unmerged branch locally, or delete a merged branch locally. What if we want to also delete a branch in our remote repository as well? In order to do that, we need to actually push the delete command. We can say git push origin. The origin is where your branch is located, and --delete and the branch name. This is the command that you should use in order to push that delete, push that removal to the remote repository as well. And you can even delete it from GitHub, GitLab, or any remote repository that you're working in. So let's go to the terminal, to the command prompt window, and see how we can do it practically. All right, so I'm in my command prompt window at the moment, and I want to start first creating an unmerged branch and delete it then. So let's create a unmerged branch. So it's super easy. We have done it before. You can do it yourself. Just pause the video and do it yourself. But we can do it together as well. So I'm using the Git branch, and let's create a branch name, for example, feature B this time. Feature B, okay? And then press enter. And now our new branch named feature B is actually created. And we can even push this new branch to our remote repository. But before doing that, I want to change the head of the pointer of the head to this new branch that I created. So I'm saying git checkout feature B. So if I check the git log right now, I can see that the head is now pointing to feature B. So if I check the, you can press Q now to exit the git log. And if I check my remote repository at the moment, if I go to my repository section, your repository, first repo, you can see that we have still two branches, main and feature A, and feature B is not here. If you remember, in order to add this to your remote repository, you need to push the local repository push the new branch to the remote repository as well. So in order to do that, I'm saying git push origin and the name of it, that was feature B, right? Press enter, everything is done. Now if I go back to my remote repository, now we have two branches. If I update this, you can see that I have three branches at the moment. So I have feature B and feature A. Feature A we created in previous tutorials. Feature B is this one that we created right now. And we have not merged anything. So feature B is actually unmerged. We created it. Everything is here, but we have not merged it yet. So if you remember in the presentation mode, I said if you want to delete branch that is not merged yet, that is unmerged, we can use the uppercase D. So in order to do that, in order to delete this newly created branch that we created just now, and we added it even to the remote repository that we have, we can use the git branch -d feature B comment. So first of all, let me clear the screen. So I'm saying git. So we created our new branch, feature B. We have changed the pointer head to this feature B branch. And we also pushed this branch to our remote repository until now. Now we want to delete it. Now we are saying, okay, we don't want that. We don't use this branch anymore. And it's unmerged. And I want to use this git branch -d feature B in order to delete this. So let's see what will happen. If I press enter, it will give us error. What is the error? The error is actually mentioning what is the problem. It is saying that cannot delete branch feature B checked out at this. It means that you are still in feature B. If I check git log again, you can see that the head is actually pointing to feature B. So in order to delete a branch, the head shouldn't actually point to that branch. So the first thing that you need to do is switching out from this branch and then delete that one. So let's press Q, let's CLS, and so the first step, because the pointer is the head's pointer is pointing to this branch, we need to first check out to another branch. For example, let's say git checkout. Let's go to the default branch, main, for example. Now we switch to the main branch. Now, if I say again git branch dash capital D, uppercase, and feature underscore B, now you can see that it is not giving us error, and it is mentioning that deleted branch feature B. So we actually locally, let's say, deleted our branch. If you go back to our remote repository here in GitHub, if I update this, you can see that the feature B branch is still here. I can see it. And I don't want that. I want actually to delete not only delete it locally from my computer, but also delete it remotely from the remote repository. So I don't want anybody see this branch here. So in order to delete that remotely, if you remember, we were using git push origin. We want to actually push this deletion to the remote repository. Dash dash delete and the name of the branch that you created. Feature underscore B. Press enter. Yes, it's now deleted, and it is actually telling you that deleted in this remote repository that you have. So if I double check again, if I update this again, you can see that it will give us error, and that's because you don't have actually feature B anymore. That's why it is giving you error. So if you go to your dashboard, if you go to your repositories again, first repo, and you can see that we only have two branches that are main and feature A. So the feature B branch that we created recently is now deleted. So we created a branch, unmerged, and we deleted it very easily. So what if, for example, the feature A is now merged? If you remember in a previous tutorial, we merged feature A with the main, with the default branch. So in order to delete this one, the process is exactly the same. First of all, you need to double check. Let's go back to the remote, to our terminal. So the process is exactly the same. The first thing that you need to check is checking that the head is not pointing to this branch that you want to delete, merged or unmerged. So let's say git log, for example. At the moment, the head is pointing to main, so everything is fine. We can simply delete branch A as well. So branch A, unlike branch B that we created recently, is merged. So, or let's say has been merged already. So in order to delete that, we need to use git branch dash, instead of uppercase D, I'm using lowercase d, and the name of it, that is feature A. If I press enter right now, it will delete feature A branch for me. I don't want to do that. Maybe we can use it in future tutorials, but for now, I just wanted to show you that you can simply do that. So that's it. That's the end of the tutorial, but let's quickly review what we have done. In order to remove a branch that you created, the first thing that you need to check is checking out that the head is not pointing to the branch that you want to delete. If it is pointing to that branch, you need to check out to another branch or switch to another branch. And then you can use the git branch -d, the branch name command. If it's unmerged branch, you can use the uppercase D. If it's merged branch, you can use lowercase d in order to delete that branch locally. And then in order to push all those changes to your remote repository, in order to delete that in your remote repository, you need to actually use the git push origin -- delete the name of your branch. That was it for this tutorial. Keep exercising. Until next tutorial. Welcome back to this tutorial. We want to actually solve our exercise 2, second exercise, and Just like exercise 1, we want to do a quick summary on what we have done or what we have learned during this section with this exercise actually. So we have 8 steps in front of us, and just you need to follow these steps. After I explain these steps for you, just pause the video and try to actually follow the steps and solve it yourself, solve the exercise yourself. And it's just like what we discussed during this section, and there is nothing new in it. After that, we can solve it together. So what are these steps? This step 1 is actually creating 2 new branches in your local repository. So you can, the name is optional, but my suggestion, first branch and second branch. Make it simple. And the second step is then you know to switch to new branch and make some changes to the README file that we had in our local working directory. Again, optional. For instance, you can add this line. This is exercise solution, whatever you like. Step 3 is then adding and committing those changes that you made in step 2 to staging area and local repository. So then in step 4, you should push your new branch into the remote repository. If you remember, when you're pushing your new branch into a remote repository, for example, GitHub, you don't need to push the changes again because it's already there. When you push the branch for the first time, it actually push all the changes with it. And but for the second time, if you want to make some changes, if you remember, we need to push those changes separately because there's no new branch to push. So this was a step 4, and in step 5, we check out to the GitHub page to find your new branch. So you can check it out by refreshing the page in GitHub or GitLab or any remote repository that you're using. And the question is, can you see the changes in your branch or not? Then in step 6, merge first branch with the default branch. For example, it could be main or master for you. For me, it's main. If you followed this course with me from the beginning, so it should be main. So merge the first branch with the main branch. And in step 7, apply all those changes into the remote repository as well, because you need all your friends see that merged thing that you have done in the remote repository. And in the last step, if you remember, I showed you how you can remove different branches. And right now, because we haven't used the second branch, let's remove this second branch. We just created it and we haven't used it. So let's remove that. That is actually the last step. So just pause the video, try to look at the steps, to follow the steps and not skipping one of them. And then come back to the video so we can solve it together. All right, so let's solve this exercise together. I'm sure that you all have finished it, so let's just recheck it with me, and let's follow the steps. The first step was creating 2 new branches for your current local repository. So I'm using the branch command, so I'm saying git branch, oops, I have a typo, git branch. And if you remember, I just suggested naming them first branch and second branch. So git branch, first branch, and git branch, second branch. Right, we created our first and second branch. Step 1 completed. Now let's go to step 2. Switch to new branch and make some changes to the README file in your local working directory. So let me open up the my local working directory. If you remember, it was Git course in my drive C, and this is the README file. I can just right click on it, open it with Notepad, and simply add a new line to it. So for example, this is optional. You can add any line that you like, but I add this is exercise solution exclamation mark. Okay, so this is the line that I added. Then I save this, close it, and go back to my terminal. So I have finished actually step 2, but there is one thing remained before going to step 3, and that was switching to my new branch. So at the moment, if I check the Git log, you can see that the head is pointing to main branch, but we want to check out to our new branch, for example, the first branch. Okay, so to do that, first I press Q to get out of Git log, and then here let me press CLS to clean this. I have my new branches. I want to just switch to them, so I'm using git checkout comment and then first branch. All right, so if you can see that switch to the first branch. If I check Git log again, you can see that the head is actually changed to the first branch at the moment. All right, so then the third step was actually adding and committing those changes that we made to staging area and local repository, because at the moment it's just in our local directory. So to do that, you can even check Git status and it will tell you that this is missing. Git status, you can see that README file is modified, but you haven't added it or committed it to your local repository. So to do that, I'm saying git add and the name of the file that we have done some changes in it, readme.txt, that's it. Then git commit -m, and inside of the double quotation, I'm using a message, I'm putting a message new exercise branch. I'm not very good with this messaging thing. And then press enter. You can see that one file chain, one insertion. And if I check the Git status again, everything should be clean. Yeah, working tree clean, and that's it. So that was the third step. The fourth step is pushing your new branch into the remote repository. So we have made some changes and committed them. When we push the branch, as I explained before, into the remote repository, you don't have to push these changes again, because when you push the branch, all these changes will go with it to the remote repository. So it's just one-time thing, and you need to use git push origin and then the name of the branch. That was the first branch. All right, so if I press enter at the moment, you can see that not also I pushed the first branch into my remote repository in GitHub, that I can see it there. Everybody can see that as well, your collaborators. But also all the changes that I have made in README file also actually pushed to the remote repository, have been pushed to the remote repository. So if I double check, as the step 5 is actually checking out the GitHub page to find your new branch and the changes. So if I open up the remote repository in here in GitHub, you can see my dashboard. You can have a quick access to your remote repository, to your repositories, or you can use, just like before, your repositories, first repo, and this was my new my repository. As you can see here, we have 3 branches. Before the exercise, it was just 2 branches, and you can see your first branch here. This is the first branch that we just added. You can even see the notification. First branch has been recent pushes 1 minute ago. So if I change the main, first of all, let's remain on a main or default branch. If you check out a README file, you can't see the last line that we added to the README file. It's just 3 lines, right? But if I change this to first branch instead of the main or default branch, if I change this like this, you can see that I have this is exercise solution here. So this was the fifth step. That checking out the GitHub, yes, we checked out our new branch and everything is there. And this is the change that we made and committed. And it's also here, but it's not in our main branch. It's in the new branch that we are committing the changes on it. Okay. Let's go back to the terminal. And here, I just want to clear everything. It's a little bit messy at the moment. And this step number 6 is actually merging the first branch with the default branch. Imagine that everybody confirmed that everything is good and you can merge it now. And we want to merge this branch with the default branch. That could be main or master. For our case, it's main. So in order to merge this, the first step, if you remember, is not using the merge comment, but it's using the checkouts comment in order to switch to the default branch, the branch that we want to merge the first branch with. So we say git checkout, and I'm using main. Now we can see that we switch to the default branch. You can even check the git log in order to make sure that the head is pointing to the default branch. Yes, it is. Head is pointing to the default branch. I can press Q. I can make everything clean. And I checked out to the default branch. Everything is set. And now it's time to actually merge merge the first branch with the default branch. So I'm using git merge first branch. Right. It's done. So we actually merged the first branch with the default branch in our local repository. Remember, still on your local repository, you merged that. So not everybody can see that, not your collaborators, because it's not in the remote repository. So step 7 is applying those changes into the remote repository as well. And to do that, it's just one line and saying that, okay, just push this to origin main. So I'm saying git push origin main, and that's it. If I press enter, you can see that it's done. It's now in our remote repository. You can even check that out by going to a remote repository again and change this to main. Now we are in first branch. If you go to main branch, you should see this line as well. Right, we have it at the moment. This line is added to the main branch as well because we merged it and push it to our remote repository. That was it. That was the actually number 7 branch. And the last step, sorry, number 7 step. And the last step is actually saying that since we have not used second branch, try to remove this branch. All right, we haven't used second branch, and it's also an unmerged branch. If you remember, in order to remove the unmerged branch, I explained it in a previous tutorial that you need to use git branch, and this time because it's unmerged, I'm using dash uppercase D. This is very important. And the name of the branch is second branch. Press enter, deleted branch, second branch, and that was it. We also deleted this one. This branch was only in our local repository, and we simply deleted it by git branch dash capital D second branch, the name of the branch. That was it. That was the exercise, and also a very quick summary on what we have said and what we have learned with together in the section in this section, actually section for the for collaboration. It helps you very much if you want to collaborate with your colleagues and your friends. That was it. Until then, keep exercising and enjoy using it.